Good evening. My name is Jonathan Ray, Chair of the Select Board. I would like to call the Select Board meeting for August 24th, 2026 to order at 6:30 p.m. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Open Meeting Law. It is being streamed live and recorded. Before we begin, I will state the members of the Select Board who are present in the room. Julianne Hirsch.
Here.
Jeff Osterguy.
Here.
Buzz Rutan.
Here.
And I am present as well. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda is public comment. Do I have any public comment to start the meeting? Hi, Susan.
Good evening. Susan Sartori, 465 Green Street. I first wanted to say, as a committee member here in town, thank you for all the diligence this summer that we started working early, trying to get things done, and to watch you guys working so well together. It's really heartwarming to see where we're headed together, trying to make plans. But I'm here to actually speak as a resident that lives at 465 Green Street. And I know that most of you probably are aware that the planning board did vote to not allow the cell tower up at 409 Green Street. So obviously all the neighbors are very happy about it. We're thrilled, but we understand there's a process to it, and we're not naive about what might be coming next. And we understand full well that you may very well receive an appeal. Once an appeal comes, there's nothing that any of us are going to be able to say to you, with you, and it will be a legal matter. What we do hope is that you will support and defend the decision made by the planning board and robustly, and understand that the community, at least up on Ball Hill, will be very appreciative of it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you for the work the Financial Planning Committee is doing. You guys are doing great. Any other public comment?
Mike Shaka, 120 Maynard Street. Hi.
Hi, Mike.
So I wanted to speak ahead of one of the items that's going to be discussed tonight, specifically the communications plan. As a member of the Financial Planning Committee and also as a resident, this is a big ticket item, one that it's. I think it deserves a lot of care in looking at all the tentacles to it. There were a number of documents that have come out over the years. There was the LB Comms assessment back in 25. There was the LB Comms memo in 26. There was the MetroWest regional 9/11 package, a few other separate decisions or rather memorandums. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit out of breath. I have a little asthma thing. I should have taken my inhaler. So, sorry. The issue is that it seems like there's two separate decisions, and they keep getting braided together. There's literally hundreds of pages that I think I've looked at over the past couple of weeks, and it feels like I'm drinking out of a fire hose trying to figure this all out, because I know that there's a very short runway here. The two separate decisions that I see are who answers 911 calls and dispatches units, and the radio systems that carry the voice. The dispatcher responder, and then of course there's the DPW and there's the schools element of it. And then all the infrastructure underneath that. And, I see these as separable decisions. And unfortunately, I think in every comparison that I've seen, they seem to be treated as one. As I mentioned, I think I've gone through hundreds of pages in this very short window of time trying to make sense of it all. And, I think even for the people who do it professionally, this is probably, really difficult to distill down. But for, volunteers like yourselves, like myself, on boards, making a 20-year commitment, it's really hard to do in a very short period of time. And, what complicates it even further is it seems like grant funding is kind of it's laced with a lot of landmines. It seems like it's more about sequence of when the requests come in more than what the substance of the grants are. For example, with the development grants appear to be front-loaded for entry into REC. So it seems like, and I don't know when that clock starts, if we've already passed that timeline or not, but it seems like the success rate for us to be able to get pretty significant grants are tied to us getting and applying those grants ahead of joining REC. And if we commit to REC and then we go to apply for it, our chances go down significantly. And that could be, 7-figure numbers that we might be forfeiting. In addition, there's also grants that we get if we stay standalone. But there's a consideration that I read that if we stay standalone and there's a rec center that's adjacent to us, suddenly the state may not look favorably upon us being standalone and may choose not to give us those grants. So the long and short of it is that there's a lot to contemplate here about the financial implications of what we do. And this is a marriage that is being done without a prenup after 3 dates. I mean, this thing, we don't have a lot of runway. We're making a decision of something that we cannot easily reverse. And I feel like I just want to raise a flag and say, hey, there's a number of things that we need to consider. I don't know if it's possible. Could we join REC next year or 3 years from now? Or are they telling us that it's either now or never? There's state-operated regional PSAPs, is my understanding. And I think in those cases, we carry little or no municipal assessment in those cases. I don't know if that's an alternative that maybe, we just haven't contemplated. There's a bridge strategy. We know that there's some serious problems with our services today, gaps in communication where there's dead zones. There's things that need to be addressed. Is it possible that we spend a very nominal amount of money on targeted fixes that hold their value under whatever scenario we decide to go forward with, and then give us the runway to be able to make the right decision, with due time, not in haste. The thing that I'm asking for here also is that all of this information that's provided to us, we really need a one-pager. We need something that lists every component that's part of the plan. And it needs to align with a cost and how that would be satisfied and what the grant implications are. It doesn't need to be as complex as, a 30 or 40-page document. We can net it down, and I think that that's an ask that I would have, is that, we list out each of the, the assets that would be part of this, that are part of the architecture, and we try to create a metrics to be able to evaluate each on its own so that we can decide almost a Chinese menu of sorts of how we pick and choose and combine things so that we can do it effectively. So, again, I know I went way over 3 minutes, but there's a lot there. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
It's to our discussion.
No.
Through the chair's permission, could you just explain? You started off by saying these are two separate decisions. What are the two separate decisions you see?
Sure. Well, my take on it is that, and you know, jump in if somebody in the room feels that I'm off base.
Mike, you should come up to the mic, yeah.
Sure. So, my take on it, and you know, please jump in if somebody feels I'm off base, is that we have dispatch. We have a decision to make on who answers the calls, who dispatches units. That's one area. The other is the radio systems and all of the infrastructure that's associated with our problems here in town. And they go beyond those that are within the realm of RECC, right? Because there's schools, there's the DPW, there's a whole bunch of other things. And we need to make decisions on what equipment we purchase for those, regardless of if we go with, a state-run dispatch, or we go with RECC, or we stay standalone. And then we need to make sure that the equipment that we're purchasing is going to be compliant with the way that the state is shifting. I believe that there's, and like I said, I've got literally hundreds of pages here. The state, my belief and understanding is that, you know, there's a certain type of radio that we're being pushed toward, and we don't want to necessarily spend, you know, $1 million on something that's going to become obsolete or pushed out. So we just, I think there's so many different moving parts here, I think we just have to distill it down, net it out, come up with something that's more granular in terms of all the pieces and parts, and then figure out how we put them together.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, Mike. Public comment?
Adam Goodlet, 110 Pleasant Street. I just wanted to come and see, like, kind of like how the select board operates and where the select board's mind is at in reference to, like, growing the town and dealing with, like, our rising tax bills. The last couple of years, me and my friend here, we've been displeased to see our tax bills jumping so much. So we're kind of just trying to gauge where the select board is, trying to, like, get our downtown growing again with some commercial and industrial growth. That's all I have.
Thank you, and I'll speak on behalf of myself and not the select board. I share your concerns, and if you watch meetings or read meeting minutes, it's a continual theme. We're entering budget season right now, some hard decisions facing the town. So it is something we take seriously. I mean, the select board is tackling budgets earlier than we've generally tackled them. Town staff's been out front leading the way and getting communication to town staff. So, like, but share it completely, and I'd encourage you to stay involved and get involved. We have a lot of committees, and there's a lot of ways. Like, I think everyone here started as a volunteer in some capacity, and we are still volunteering. But but I appreciate your comments.
I'd actually add to that. I think your instinct is dead on, right? Which is, we can talk about budgets and all those kinds of things, but the simple fact of the matter is, as a town, right, the cost of business is going up, and that's not going to stop.
Yeah.
Okay? So the only sustainable path towards mitigating tax increases, right, is going to be more commercial development, right? And that is, and like when we start to talk about things about economic development and things along those lines, that's when I sort of raised it last week. There's a couple different layers to that, right? There are ways that we can sell the town better, but I also think from a zoning perspective and a planning perspective, we have to be willing to open up our horizons a little bit to allow for that to happen.
Later on in the agenda, we have feedback. We conducted a business survey to all of our local businesses, and we had some interesting feedback, so stick around.
Any other public comment? Hearing none. Next on the agenda is discussion with Public Safety Communications Consultant Mark Cady and representatives of the MetroWest Regional Emergency Communications Center regarding Northborough's public safety communication needs and options for future dispatch services.
Sure. We have Brian Smith, who is the director of the new and upcoming MetroWest RECC, which is proposed to open in Westboro. And we have Mark Cady of LB Comms, who has been our consultant in communications for our standalone dispatch in Northborough.
Good evening. I brought some copies of what I was going to discuss. Could I hand them out to you? Is that
Please.
okay? Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
So good evening. My name is Brian Smith. I'm the director of the MetroWest Regional Emergency Communications Center in Westboro. I want to thank the Select Board for inviting us today to talk about the Regional Communications Center, and thank the community as well. So I just want to go over really briefly sort of our structure. And I think the important place to start is our governance model and how we are set up for decision making, both now as we're in development and as we go forward and we're actually operational. I was provided a list of questions that the community and the Select Board may have, and when I was going through those questions, the thing that stood out to me was the vast majority of the questions of how we handle challenges are answered within the structure of the organization and our governance. And so our governance is set up kind of like a triangle. At the top is our board of directors. Now, the board of directors consists of the town manager from each of our member communities. So currently, the RECC has 3 participating communities: Westboro, Southboro, and Grafton. And the board of directors consists of the town manager of each of those 3 communities. As we add communities to the RECC, the board of directors would expand to include the town manager of the new participating communities. And the board of directors acts as the policymakers for the RECC for long-term strategic planning and how the RECC operates going forward. And then on our other 2 points of that triangle, we have our operations committee, and the operations committee consists of the police chief and the fire chief from each of the participating communities. And so when we have a challenge in the future, or currently as we're in development on how are we going to handle this issue or how are we going to handle that issue, it really starts with the operations committee, where the police and fire chiefs of each of the communities come together in that committee, and they're developing the policy and the procedures of how the dispatch center is going to handle that challenge. And on the third leg would be our finance committee. And in the finance committee, it's the finance director from each of the communities. And the finance committee works on financial stewardship, making sure the center is operating in a fiscally responsible manner. And so if we have a challenge, the operations committee would develop a plan of action of how the dispatch center is going to handle that. The finance committee would determine if there's a cost to that and how we're going to fund that cost. They would make recommendations to the board of directors, and the board of directors would implement the policy. That would be implemented by myself, the director, who would put that action into motion. And so with that, the participating communities of the RECC and the new communities that come on, they're part of the decision-making process. And so anytime we have a challenge or a concern, and I understand that there are concerns when you're transitioning from a standalone town dispatch center to a regional center, you're going to have questions, how does this work, or how are you going to handle this challenge? And the way we handle that is through collaboration through our existing member communities. So the police and the fire chiefs will come together and they'll come up with a process to handle that in the dispatch center. The finance committee will ensure that fiscally we can make that happen, and then the board of directors approves the policy for further for moving forward. The way we would handle assessments, or how we handle assessments, is it's a 2-tiered process. So within our existing communities or our member communities, assessments are billed or are processed based on a formula of 50% of population and 50% of 911 call volume. And so for the town of Westboro, They're currently at about 36%. When you combine population and call volume, about 15% for Southborough and about 25% for Grafton. As new communities come on, we evaluate their 911 call volume as well as their population, and we add them to that formula, and then those percentages would change. The more communities that join, the lower the assessments for all of the communities going forward. Now, within our funding, we've currently received 3 years of 911 development grant funding from the state of Massachusetts, and that's approximately $15 million that we've received for the construction and development of the center. The actual facility, the construction of the building, is fully funded so far through 911 development grants, as well as our project management on making sure that we have a project management, an architecture firm, as well as engineering on the technology. Those are all fully funded currently. Now, there are areas that are not currently fully funded, and the way we are handling that is the district has authorized bonding, and currently the authorization is for $12.5 million. Now, the plan is not to fold that $12.5 million in assessments to the member communities. The funds that are used in that $12.5 million have to be allowable under the Massachusetts 901 Development Grant. And so in future years, in year 28, 29, 30, and as we go forward, we're going to fold the $12.5 million bond back into the development grant. So we anticipate that that bond will be fully paid for by future development grant funding. The state of Massachusetts actually, in their hierarchy of how they approve funding, is the first element that's approved is debt. That's for eligible existing items. And so as we've met with the state through this process that's now going on for about 3 years, the state has about $150 million of requests each year for 911 development, and they have about $50 million per year to give out. And so they're not able to fully fund everything at the front end, and so they do rely on bonding and to pay back the bonding over time using the 901 development grants to cover that. Now, in the development of the center, we are outfitting the center with new technology, and so that is really part of our plan going forward. We are developing, we've chosen a CAD and RMS system. Each of the communities currently within our coverage area, they all are operating pretty old technology that's really coming up to end of life. And within a dispatch center, the main sort of brain of the dispatch center is what's called the CAD system, the computer-aided dispatch system. And we've intentionally chosen a system that's going to work as a regional system for CAD, but then a step below that would be the records management system that's attached to CAD, and that we are doing as an individual tenant. And so what that does is it allows the dispatch center to operate regionally from our end, from the dispatcher's end, but then on the responder side, so for the police departments and the fire departments, all of their data is housed within their own system. And so how it kind of works is the 911 center, we have sort of an overarching computer system that has access, so we can dispatch different communities at the same time. But then on the responder side, let's say for Westboro Police, or if Northborough joined Northborough Police Department, they have their own records management system that's connected to our computer system. And so in the future, say down the line, Northborough decides to go a different direction, those systems aren't the same, and you can actually take yours and take it with you. And so you're not left in a situation where you would have to get a new RMS system, because you could take the one that you have with us with you. You would just take over the payments on that. The computer system we're using is made by a manufacturer called Mark 43. And Mark 43 is a very well-known police RMS and dispatch oriented company. They are operating within Massachusetts. The Boston Police Department uses their RMS system, and several other dispatch centers use both their CAD and RMS system, like we are as well. For the fire department, we are not using the Mark 43 RMS connection. We're using a separate system called First Do. For our emergency medical dispatching, we're using the APCO EMD program. And we're installing station alerting in all of our fire departments. And what that does is when the dispatcher receives a call, really as soon as they enter the call for dispatch, automatically the fire department's being notified automatically. So the dispatcher, they will go over the radio and confirm that the responders are en route, but prior to that, the system is doing it for them automatically. We are integrating, we're covering integrations on the CAD system as well. And then on our radio system, we've hired a radio engineering firm to do an assessment of all of our member towns, similar to what Mr. Cady has done with Northborough. And our engineering firm has designed a regional radio system using a UHF P25 digital banded technology. So a little bit technical here. There's different types of radio systems you can acquire. There's different types of technology. And really what they're doing is there's a bandwidth of radio systems. There's VHF, very high frequency, UHF, ultra high frequency. There's different 800 megahertz, 700 megahertz. There's different bands of radio systems, and they all have different technologies, different costs, different maintenance plans, things like that. The radio firm that we've hired has done an evaluation of all of the communities and has developed a regional system using UHF P25 technology. And what that does is it connects all of the town's existing radio systems. We build it out so it has additional functionality. And now when we get a call, let's say we're in Westboro and there's a call for a heart attack that's right on the border between Westboro and Grafton, we can dispatch to Westboro and to Grafton using the same radio system. The Grafton firefighters, as well as the Westboro firefighters, can respond to that, even if it's not within their current town. They'll be able to stay on their own radio system. They won't have to change channels, and they'll be able to communicate with us. They'll be able to communicate with their agencies next door, and it's a regional system. Whereas now the systems are bifurcated. They're separate. So Grafton has a system, Westboro has a system, Northborough has a system. If a police officer or a firefighter from one town enters another town, they have to turn off their existing radio and turn on or change the channel, kind of like on a TV, change the channel to your news station, and you're able, then they can communicate. And so it takes away some of that and it regionalizes it. The other thing that regionalization does on the radio system is it allows the dispatch center to realize some economies of scale that otherwise we could not do unless we've regionalized some of the technology. So, for instance, if we kept the towns separate, and so Northborough had its own radio system, Westboro has its own radio system, Southboro has its own radio system, the people side of that, while on the community side or the police and the fire side, it's very, especially when you're working with one dispatch center, you have a dispatcher and the responder both on the same channel. But now when we move regionally to a RECC, if our dispatchers are monitoring multiple frequencies that are not connected regionally, I would need more people. in order to manage the same amount of work because they're all on separate systems. And so by combining them all in the same system, we're able to reduce some of the personnel needs in order to gain some economies of scale. We're able to do more because we've consolidated some of the technology. And so I'm going to take just a break there because I've talked a little bit fast. Before we go into, I was provided with a list of questions or concerns that some of the community may have had. And so before I go into some of those questions, I just kind of want to break and see if there are any questions from the board.
I have half statement, half question, yes. Right? My statement is what Mike articulated earlier is exactly what I'm struggling with here. This urgency to get something done. Now, I respect the urgency based on what Chief presented. We have a problem there. We need to solve that problem. I don't know what the best solution to that problem is yet. I do think we have to have the same level of urgency to solve issues related to the schools and DPW, and we have to figure out how all that goes together. But I guess collectively, maybe this is a question for all of you. I struggle to figure out how we get to making a decision without, again, to Mike's point, having some sense of what the trade-offs are here, right? Whether it's moving to the RECC and then we have to replace systems for the DPW in schools and what are the costs there. If we move to the RECC and we decide we don't like it, great, we can take it with us, but what's the cost that we have to pick up there? Not just to pick up those payments, but also to then implement it right back here locally. There's just a lot of moving parts here. How can we address, Chief's concerned about never having a dark station, and what does that look like in terms of like if we're making a sacrifice moving dispatchers here versus being able to keep the doors open? There's just so many variables in this. And it feels like it's happening very, very fast. And it is a decision that's going to have ramifications years and years and years down the line, not just from a cost perspective, right? Cost is part of it, yes, and an important part of it. But in terms of how we're able to deliver the services required, and to me, it just feels like there's just so many pieces to it. And I'm curious, I guess maybe collectively for all three of you, what your take on this is, and how can we get to some way to understand what we're actually looking at? Because, again, personally, I see the RECC, I see this, and then I see the other thing. They're all just sort of floating around in the ether, and it's like, well, this looks good. Well, this looks good too, but this is expensive, and this is less expensive. But I have no idea how to look at them, right, and say, where do we go from here? And I understand there's a certain amount of urgency to get into the RECC in a certain amount of time. I think there's also a substantial amount of urgency to get Chief what he needs so his people are safe and the people in town are safe. So I'm really struggling with it. And I'm curious what perspectives you guys have on that, how we decouple it, where the different pieces can move around. How do we do this in a way that we don't have to undo it in 3 years?
Mm-hmm. I wish I had a really simple answer.
Yeah.
But they're really complex. So there are some complexities, especially with the technology on the radio side. We did a full evaluation of how do we build out our radio system so it's secure, redundant, resilient, and it is something that we can use long term going forward.
So, can I potentially dumb question? Sure. When you say radio systems, we are still only speaking about police and fire as it relates to radio. We are not addressing the schools and the DPW, correct?
I am not.
Okay.
However,
I just want to make sure we're clear on
so
that part.
The RECC is currently building out the radio system that the RECC has designed, which I have included in your packet, a radio concept design that goes over the UHF system that we're moving forward with. It just gives you it's from the engineering company, and it kind of gives some high levels of the design and the channels. So let's say we expanded this system to include Northborough. Okay. Northborough is considering a UHF P25 system, from my understanding, and the RECC is implementing and going forward with a UHF P25 system. It's a little bit easier for our towns because the 3 towns currently do operate on UHF. However, We did evaluate 800 megahertz, moving to comirrors, staying with UHF, doing UHF trunked versus digital, all of the different varieties of radio systems we evaluated. And at this time, the best decision for the RECC, for the community, was to move forward with the UHF system. Now, the UHF system is really the hardware, right? But in addition to the hardware, there's the channels. And so the channels are difficult to come by as well. And so let's say Northborough moves to a UHF system, and I believe you're currently on a VHF system, is that correct?
Yes.
So if you move to a UHF system, not only do you need to implement the hardware, but then also acquire the channels to talk on the hardware. And the UHF bandwidth is very crowded in the state of Massachusetts. And so there's some additional work to be done there. So you actually have to acquire both the technology as well as the channels. And so right now within our system, we have 7 channels to operate. And so what we are looking at is how can we consolidate those 7 channels so we don't operate on as many, and then we have channels left over in order to do future things. And so with Northborough, my first question to you would be, if you're moving to a UHF system, do you have channels already identified for police, fire, and DPW? So let's say Northborough joined the RECC and we've built out this UHF system. All we would really look for you to add DPW for that is the channels. We need to make sure that you have those channels, because the channels will talk on the hardware. You just have to make sure you have those channels. And so then you could use the system for DPW or for whatever channels you had, for whatever you needed to use them for, schools. The list could go on. Dog catcher, have their own channel, things like that. So there are some complexities, and our step one of the radio system would be to ask our engineering firm to do an assessment to see how we would incorporate you into that system. Now, separately from that, Northborough could decide we don't want to be a part of your radio infrastructure. We'd like to build our own radio system.
Right.
And that would be fine too. We could connect them to us.
Sure.
But then it would go back to the operations committee to see how are we going to operate when we have a town who's part of the RECC but is not part of the radio system.
So yet another moving part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so as we go forward, there's going to be, because we're not in operation yet, we are still at least a year away from doors opening. And so there are challenges, and there's going to be more challenges. And so I'd have to go back and sort of lean back on the governance model to be, well, we know how we're going to solve them. We know the structure of we're going to solve them. I may not be able to tell you in this moment, the specific technology.
And you say you're a year from doors opening, but correct me if I'm wrong, you're looking for commitments to be part of it well in advance of that, right? That's quickly.
There's not a deadline. I don't have and my board has not instructed me that we have a deadline for new communities.
Okay.
New communities are reaching out to us to, just similar to this, to learn information to see how they could join. Now, the benefit of joining early is that you're involved in the creation of the center and developing those early policies. So right now, the operational policies, for instance, how are we going to resolve the dark station? Those are currently being worked by the existing operations committee, so the police and fire chiefs of Westboro, Southboro, and Grafton. If Northborough joined at this time while we're in development, Northborough would be part of that decision-making process. So you would help us come up with those solutions. So we have a year, at least a year, to kind of fix those questions or come up with solutions to those questions. The disadvantage of joining later is that you wouldn't be involved in that development.
Right.
And so you would join a facility that's already operating and already has a groove and a method of how it's operating, and you wouldn't be part of that development of that.
Okay.
So that's really the benefit of joining earlier versus later.
Sure.
But I don't know if we have a specific, like, you have to join by this date.
Okay. So I have one more question. I promise I'm going to shut up. Mark, question for you. Refresh me now. If we said go today on implementing your plan, how long is that before we have a viable system in place?
So I would say, are you talking the whole plan, or are you
Whole plan.
talking like the phased approach?
Well, the phased approach, as I understand it, we're at risk in a phased approach, right, for costs and things like that. So let's say we just said, okay, we're going to figure out a way to do it, grant whatever. Is that a year out?
Yeah, because we're looking at coordination. You'd have to get the frequencies, and then from there, we can design the system moving forward.
Okay, so this is what I'm getting at, right? It's like, from the chief's perspective, like, no matter what we do, right, in theory, we're at least looking at another year of suboptimal stuff, right? Okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Leslie.
Yeah, a couple questions. First of all, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
I like the way you present. You're very
Oh, thanks.
organized. The first question is, you mentioned that possibly if we joined the RECC, that we could even develop our own system and use that. Do we know whether or not that would really work in terms of delays as far as response times and things like that, or communications to?
So let's say you joined with your current technology. You were like, we don't want to regionalize our radio system. We've invested in the technology that we have in the community, and so we want to maintain our own technology. You could technically still join the RECC. What we would do would we would network your existing radio system into our facility, and so our dispatchers could speak over your radio system to communicate with the police and the fire department. Operationally, it's a little hinky, for lack of a better term, because you're not part of that regional system. We don't get some of those economies of scale because we're not all operating on the same item. And we may have to increase our staffing levels because you may require your own dispatcher because they're working on a different system, if that makes sense.
Yes, okay.
So you could do it both ways. The true regionalization, however, would be to join the RECC's technology. What that entails, it's really early to say whether or not it would be the same costs or different costs. It's hard to say. We'd have to contact the engineers. They'd have to run some coverage maps to see how we can get coverage effectively to do that.
Okay. Thank you. Question about the assessments.
A clarifying question on that point, so we don't
Oh,
lose
yes,
it.
yes, yeah,
Thank you. For my education, if we make the assumption that we're going to go to P25, does that mitigate this whole conversation we just had about systems, or is it more nuanced than that? And there's more than P25 to consider when you say systems?
It's P25 gets you very close. We're using the same technology. But let's say Northborough decided to build out its own P25 system. So you were going to purchase all of the equipment, install it, and you're going to develop your own system. You could technically maintain your own system. We could connect you to the RECC system. Now, whether or not we could get those economies of scale, like I talked about, where we were regionalized, that's where the question mark comes in. That's the unknown, where I'd have to go back to the engineers and be like, okay, their system, your system, how do we connect them in the best way?
So designing up front with the technology in each community puts us in a better position than waiting to try to connect what we do with the technology in our system and bringing it on after. Is that accurate?
Don't know if I'm following the question.
So, and I'm this is not. Wait, might have some insights. So, let me, and I'm learning as I'm talking. So, as I think about the technology, P25, that's a technology. You buy some hardware and you got it installed. And then you have a system, the way the thing works, right? What's the system? Help me understand what the system is as opposed to the P25 technology.
Yeah, just talk about antennas, redundancy, like how it's all set up, just so
I think I'm
people can get a
oversimplifying
good...
in my head.
So it doesn't matter whether you have a site in Northborough and you have, say, 2 sites, and you have a police transmitter and a repeater, and a fire repeater at site 1, and you have a police repeater and a fire repeater at site 2, and we connect those sites. Those 2 sites now become a system. Those systems can either transmit in analog, or they could transmit in P25. P25 is just, the P25 is a standard, a suite standard that was set by APCO, which basically said, because what happened initially was the manufacturers were all kind of racing to develop their own digital standard, and APCO stepped in and said, nope, we're not going to do this. We're going to set a standard for public safety, and then the manufacturers are going to build the radios to this standard. So if you look at the P25 standard, there's a whole bunch of standards in there. Digital modulation is just one of the standards. There's an encryption standard. There's other standards within P25, but P25 gets lumped in as the digital standard. So what it does is, now what Brian has stated is that in their system, they've looked at, it says on the cover sheet here, 9, possibly up to 10 sites, and they looked at the existing frequency spectrum that Westboro, Southboro, and Grafton are using, and they're going to reuse those frequencies to create a system. Now, what he's talking about of economy to scale is this. When you have all 7 frequencies at every one of those sites, there can be a site in Westboro that provides coverage into Grafton. So like right now, when we have problems at the, where Wegmans is up there on the hill, there could be a site in Westboro that covers that area of Route 9 and Route 20 that you just don't see the benefit right now.
Got it.
And that's where Commerce in their system, or the trunking system wide area is, you can have a site in another town, and that town's site provides coverage into your town. That's the economy of scale. That's the economy of geography, because now you have 2 sites in your town of Northborough, and let's just say one of them is the cell tower on Church Street, and the other one is up there at 9 and 20 somewhere. But Westboro fills in an area on the east side of town, and Grafton fills in an area. It's just, it's the economy that's where the gain is. That's the benefit. So instead of having built out 3 sites or 4 sites for Northborough, you build 2, but you're gaining coverage from 2 other towns. That's the economy. That's the savings. That's where you get better coverage.
So thank you for bringing that up. On page 2 of the radio assessment document is actually the coverage map that includes the system that we're building out. And the pink identifies where there's radio coverage. And so if you were to put Northborough in here, you could see that there's some radio coverage already from the towers that we are working at, or that we're developing, we're proposing. And so he's right. It may not require 2 or 3 towers for Northborough, because we already have some coverage in the town.
Thank you. Super helpful.
Okay.
Sorry, Leslie. Go ahead.
It's okay. No, that's all great stuff. 2 more questions, though. How often does APCO review what they feel should be how we're operating? Like you're saying that they're accepting, or they're...
The standards?
Yes.
Standards are typically reviewed every 5 to 7 years, give or take. I would say the P25 standard is probably one of the more active standards. It's kind of, I tell people it's a living document. It's constantly being reviewed. They're constantly adding to it. And then there's like outside testing agencies. So when a manufacturer develops new equipment to a P25 standard, they have to go through third-party testing, and then it gets approved, and it gets put on a specific list saying this equipment is eligible. It's been cap, they call it cap compliance, saying that it's met the standard. Not because we said, and we're X manufacturer or Y manufacturer, but we've sent it out to a third-party testing company and it's come back. And there's a long list of manufacturers that have P25 standards. But I sit on a standard right now of review committee that was put out like 7 years ago on site hardening, And we're reviewing that standard right now. So they're living documents, they're constantly being reviewed, and input comes from typically the user community. The customers are the ones typically that drive a lot of the standards because they say, hey, this didn't work, or we tried this, can we change the standard? And that's how things evolve and become better.
Okay, so the P25 is highly recommended, and it's not going to go anywhere?
No.
In the near future?
No.
Would you say, as far as a recommendation?
Yes.
Okay.
It's here for the future. It'll just, it's not going to go away. It will evolve, and you'll see nuances come to it. So initially, as Brian had said, and if you look at page 1 there, it says P25 Phase 1 conventional. So P25 Phase 1 was the first thing, and that basically is, it's a digital modulation, and you get one voice path on one frequency. If you look at the commerce system, as they're migrating the system out, and you get into digital trunking, you can get into, in some areas, they do stuff with UHF, but not on VHF. They can do Phase 2, and what Phase 2 does is they can put 2 voice paths on one frequency. They divvy it up. There's a modulation that they can do called TDMA, which is time division multiple access, and basically you can run 2 voice paths on one channel. So I have another customer in Western Mass. They have a 4-site trunking system, so they have 3 frequencies running TDMA. They actually have 6 voice paths running 3 repeaters. So I can handle all the schools, 7 school campuses, the DPW, 8 divisions of the DPW, and the police department and the fire department on one 6-channel system there.
Okay, so it's not like things get thrown in the trash, it's
Nope.
more that they're improving what they're
Correct.
recommending. Okay.
Standard is, like I said before, it's a living document. It just evolves and gets better for the end user.
Okay. My other question is about assessments. You mentioned that it's based on population and call volume. Is that, what do you base that on, though? Is that look back over X number of years? Is it constantly being reviewed, and so that every month or 2 months, whatever, it fluctuates? When is the assessment set, and what is that based on?
So the 911 call volume is provided to us from the state. The state actually tracks the 911 call volume for all of the municipalities. And so that is really where that's come from, and that comes every year. The population, we're using the 10-year census,
Okay.
so that's pretty constant.
Okay, so this is not something that fluctuates every month on an assessment change? Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on that, but, so that's annual? Is what you're saying that changes annually? Okay, all right, just want to make sure it's clear, okay.
Brian, just to clarify, these are 911 calls, not
Correct.
not business line calls or non-emergency lines.
No,
The
so
REC doesn't, if I remember correctly, the REC that's being designed now in Westboro, those dispatchers don't handle.
we do. So we actually, however, it was a decision, and so the operations committee came in, and we had a decision to make of, are we going to answer non-emergency telephone calls, our 10-digit lines, in addition to the 901 calls, and we are moving forward that we are. So
does that, do they look at that as far as the assessment goes?
no, that has not changed. So the assessments are written into the governance document, and the governance document has not changed to account for that. So currently it's 911 call volume and population.
So I'm confused about school and DPW coverage. In its current iteration, is your REC covering DPW and schools?
So what do you mean by that?
So
let me.
Oh, okay. So there's a semi-emergent situation at a school. I guess that would go right to the regional dispatch.
So it would depend on how we're set up. That may be something that I'm not able to answer today. So the REC is primarily being designed to handle police and fire emergencies and speaking with the police and fire departments. Now, let's say in the future, or there's another need by a community to, like the schools, to contact the dispatch center directly. We'd have to work with the operations committee first to define how we're going to handle that. Is there a cost? And then we would get board approval and implement that within the center. So it's an option, but it's not currently in our plan.
Okay.
So currently, right now, are the radios that we have, Algonquin, for instance, can communicate with our dispatch direct?
For any situation?
Yes.
Okay.
And that would not necessarily, well, out of the box, would not be the case.
It's not currently in our plan, but there's nothing. So let's say they're on the same radio system. So they have their own channel. Is it difficult for them to contact the dispatch center? Probably not. It's probably pretty simple. We could probably reproduce what that is currently happening now. It's just not currently within our structure.
Okay, so if it was operational today, what would happen with a call from the school that is not a 911?
I mean, I think probably 9 out of 10 times, my guess is they'd be picking up a cell phone and calling 911, which would go to the RECC. You know, I mean, there is an option that they have now that could communicate with us by radio.
In your experience, do most people call 911 just to call the police station because they don't know the number? Or do they have the number and they call? Do we know that?
Well, yeah, I'm not
Like, if
following.
someone doesn't know the number of, like, the
Non-emergency.
phone number, like,
Happens all the time.
because I don't know, I know 508-393, and then I have no idea the last 4 digits.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if these guys can just, answer that too. Yeah, it happens all the time.
Because Grafton's numbers jump out. 911 calls to population percents, if you look at them. There's some, they're not uniform, so something's going on in Grafton. You can tell us, Brian.
Well, you have to look at, so when you look at communities, communities that have highways get lots of repetitive 911 calls for accidents.
Okay.
So you can have one incident and it can generate 25, 30 calls depending on commuter hour. So you get upticks. So you have communities that don't have highways in them. Grafton has the turnpike that goes through Grafton, so they get a lot of 911 traffic that comes in from Grafton. Even though the state tries to segment it off through GIS mapping, it doesn't. It's not an exact science at all. So to answer you, to kind of elaborate on your question, the schools are required by Michael's Law to have communications with the 911 center that's not telephone based. That varies across the state immensely. So they're supposed to have, within the radios that they use in the school, the ability to contact 911. So if someone's outside and there's a gym teacher and they're outside and the student has an anaphylactic reaction, they may or may not have their cell phone with them, but they'll have a radio so they can talk to the front desk. So I have some customers that have, they go to channel 16 on their portable and they can talk directly to a 911 dispatcher. Give them the information. That's why part of Michael's Law is also like labeling and numbering of fields, because the law was precipitated after Michael that died in Sutton because they went to the football field, but the kid wasn't at the football field. They were at the practice football field, and he died cardiac arrest. So that law basically says that, so if you look at a lot of fields, they'll have large 2x2 signs that are fluorescent yellow that have a big B or an A or a number on them, so that, like, say the coach from the high school has the heart attack, that the visiting coach could say, oh, we're at field B. And that just changes because it might be a different access point for fire and police. They might not come in the front entrance. It might be they come in off of West Street off the side and there's a separate parking lot. So access to that, and there again, that filters in. So there could be something, as Brian has stated, they're still at the beginning, and there are other channels besides the 7 channels he's talking about here. There are other mutual aid interoperable channels that he'll be monitoring, like Fire District 14 has a fire channel, District 7 has a fire channel, LPS 7 is a mutual aid law enforcement channel. So there are other interoperable channels that currently Northborough, Westborough, Southborough, and Grafton use, their PSAPs use on a regular basis. Those won't be duplicated. They'll just be in their console as a resource, and they'll be able to coordinate that a lot better. Does that help?
Yeah.
A lot. I know it's a lot.
think
It's a
about
lot
that.
of information.
It is.
Yeah.
That's why Brian did a great job, because covered a lot of information, but now you can digest it slowly and have more questions
Yeah.
later.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The other thing I just want to highlight is the last sort of document in your packet. I was provided some questions from Stephanie to cover. And so I've listed the question in black, and then I've answered it in blue. That way you have it to go back to
In here?
if needed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is great. Thank you very much.
I guess what I didn't, just a couple of thoughts real quick. So I guess I came into this thinking it's not a matter of if, but when regionalization happens. I think 50% of towns now are regionalized, and it's hard to think we're here in 10 years where you have towns staffing their own dispatch. And then the three things I'm thinking about is like, can we get comfortable from a technical perspective? The economic piece, I think Mike articulated well in the public comment with timing and grants and understanding some of those things, and then service levels and response time. So like I'm trying to bucket this potential, and nobody likes to have to act with not a lot of time. So there's a tension between, are you advantaged or disadvantaged to do it now? And I don't know that full answer. I think what was a little bit eye-opening for me is that, like, what is the mission statement of MetroWest Regional 911 Services? I just thought it was this nice little, hey, it's a couple of our buddy towns, and like, how big do you want to get? Because I was researching as you were talking, but it sounds like Hopkinton was exploring it, and then they decided not to. And like, what does MetroWest Regional 911 Services want to be?
That's a really great question. So as far as how big do we want to be, a lot of that is dependent upon our call volume. So for instance, with our current 3 towns, with the call volumes of those 3 towns, the state is funding an authorization for 4 positions. So initially, the way we are currently operating, or we will be operating, is the center will have a 4-position PSAP, 4-position 911 center. The facility can handle 13 positions. So we have the ability to grow to 13 positions, but at this point we would be 4-position PSAP. We would not be able to grow any larger than having 13 positions. And I don't honestly think we would ever get to 13 positions. If you take a look at the geography of the area, where the other regional centers are, we are going to end up as a small to medium-sized PSAP. The communities are very concerned with maintaining the community touch, to ensuring that they're part of the community, that we're not here to take over the world or to become a large, very large PSAP. The current idea is to maintain the services that we have, that the community depends on, but to regionalize and maintain those cost savings where we can, to improve the response times where we can. And actually, response times is a very sort of integral part of this. And so the regionalization part, Southborough and Westborough are looking to do automatic aid. And so we're able to do that easily at the RECC, whereas the separate PSAPs are not able to do that easily. So for instance, if a call comes in for Southborough and they don't have anybody available to respond for a medical emergency, the dispatcher has to pick up the phone and call other agencies in order to find somebody that can respond to that call. With the RECC, with the automatic regionalization, if a call comes in for Southborough, the dispatcher enters the call, they're going to be presented with a list of available units to send. And if Southborough is not available, the automatic mutual aid would kick in, the Westborough would be there, they hit enter, and immediately at the Westborough fire station, the alarm's going off after the person hit enter. And so it shortens the response time. And so I think the mission really is to maintain our services, to improve our service, maintain the connection with the community, but to improve the response at the end.
Thank you. Any other questions from the select board?
I have one more question.
Yes.
So the ambulance and the fire department goes out to an accident. Somehow there's reimbursement, right? So when you talked about, like, if something happens on the border of Westboro and Northboro and they all go, how do you, what's the reimbursement procedure?
When you say reimbursement, is that for the fire department specifically?
I think you mean like an ambulance pickup?
Yeah, so, because eventually we bill
Right.
Medicare or whatever. So
That would stay the same as it is today. So if Northborough goes to Westboro Mutual Aid and they transfer the patient in a Northborough ambulance, Northborough would bill. Conversely, if Westboro comes into Northborough and backs them up mutual aid, they would bill. So if it was on the line and one went the other direction, it would still be the same methodology as it is today. As far as whoever transports the patient is the one. It changes a little if you're not at an ALS level, because there's ALS billing that's a little different. So if you're on a BLS service and you intercept with like paramedics somewhere, it changes it. But I would say 99% of the time you're running at ALS level here already, that the patient's in your ambulance, you're billing.
okay.
Thank you, Mark, because I was not aware.
Mark, how are you thinking about, from a technical perspective, joining now versus 2 years from now? What is that? How, assuming we go forward with the proposal that was presented earlier at a select board meeting?
So you're headed in the same direction. So whether you decide to go to the REC or you decide to stay standalone, whatever, by heading in the UHF and heading in that direction there, you're, at least the trajectory is parallel to, it would fit. As Brian has said, you're a year off, at least, from the REC going operational and from them having money to kind of invest in that. The other thing that I would just kind of mention as well, and if Brian wants to elaborate on this, is that I believe if they join, they're part of the 5-year incentive plan?
Yes.
Yes. So what ends up happening, do we know what the 5-year incentive plan is?
Please.
Okay. So the 5-year incentive plan is this. Let's just say I'm going to use numbers. Don't hold me to these numbers, but I'm going to say, let's just say your assessment was $400,000. Okay? In year one, the state pays you $400,000. In year two, they pay $400,000. In year three, they pay $400,000. In year four, they pay half of it. They pay $2,000. And in year five, they pay $100,000. So over the first 5 years, you've saved $1.something million in assessments. So as a town, I would think, and I'm just talking me as a consultant strategically, is you would want to, if someone was paying your mortgage payment for the first 5 years, you should be banking that mortgage payment and saying, I know I got to pay it in year 5, in year 6, I got to pay this, and I'd be investing that money in something else important, whether paying down college loans or other debt services or whatever. That right there could fund the majority of your radio system just by joining. Would be your incentive, your assessment would be that. If there was the ability for the REC to get you development money on top of that, it could accelerate that. But that's a if it gets to that point as they're building out their radio system. But when we're looking at frequencies for here, it's very easy to have this conversation with Brian and his consultants to say, hey, we're looking at these frequencies. Do these frequencies fit into your plan? So that if you decide to make that move, it's not you really shouldn't have done that. These frequencies are too close to some other frequencies we have. It doesn't make a difference when we're looking to say, you got a plan? Let's just make sure they fit with that plan. It's kind of semantics at that point.
In addition, thank you. In addition to the 5-year assessment that's covered by the state, the support and incentive that the state provides on a yearly basis to dispatch centers increases substantially once you're regionalized. And so, for instance, the Westboro and Southboro and Grafton, currently they receive from the state, say it's about $50,000 a year, maybe between $50,000 and $100,000 a year as support from the state to operate the dispatch center. Just by regionalizing, the projection from the state so far just for the 3 towns increases that amount to $980,000. So when we are doing the assessments, if you figure what we're doing is after that 5 years goes by, so the state's covering the costs for the first, let's say, 5 years, even though it's percentaged at the end. Going forward onto that, whereas if you receive, say, like $50,000 a year, the center's receiving substantially more, close to $1 million a year, just with the 3 towns as a support. And so we're evaluating our costs, and then that gets chopped off the top. So the funding from the state covers a large portion of what would be assessed, more than it is when you're standalone.
I think that's the kind of, one-page summary that Mr. Shaga was. Am I correct?
You got to see it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't know about that.
Even if it's like just your best estimate kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, so what I can say with certainty, because I've received the number from the state, is after we regionalize with 3 towns, Southborough, Westborough, and Grafton, the support and incentive would increase to $980,000 per year. So as we add communities to that, the amount that we receive from the state would be adjusted in accordance with that.
If I may.
Please.
I think Mike's point, and Jeff kind of followed up on this, is we take this slow. There's a lot to this. What we're hearing, and Brian does a great job presenting, it would be a major decision. And I think we just need to take things slow. We have technology needs that need to be addressed sooner, rather than entertaining any plan about joining a regional center. I don't think the time is right for us, and I don't necessarily know it's a good fit for us when we have a operation. Our technology is not great, but our operations and our service is phenomenal. And I just have, and I'm not dismissing the RECC. I think there's a lot of pros to it. I just think we need to slow it down a little bit, in my opinion. There's a lot of what ifs, because the center is not even close to being open yet. There's a lot of potentially promises from the state that I'm a little leery about grants, and you're gonna get this, you're gonna get that. It looks like a nice plan, looks like a shiny new car, but I just think we need to slow it down.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that Mike Shaka did speak at the beginning, because it's funny, because over time this has kind of morphed into a single thing when it really is 2 separate things. So I'm a strong proponent of the phased approach to the communications upgrade. I want to make sure that that's out there. Strong proponent of that. And let's say we delay joining a RECC. I guess the bottom line for me is, at any point are we cutting off our nose to spite our face? So at what, is there a danger if, say, we go ahead with the communications upgrade and what we're choosing for this particular system, can we afford, it's a cost-benefit thing, can we afford to put it off and still gain the benefits if, let's say, if we decide in it 2 years, for example? I don't know. To me, that's the bottom line. Oversimplification, I think, but. So thank you, Mike, for bringing that up, because it's a morphing thing that I've noticed, too, with all this. Yeah. Because I don't want to endanger that. I don't want this to be intertwined so much that we don't do what is needed.
Any other discussion?
But also, we received an email from the Grafton Select Board member who was happy to come and talk to us about how they made their decision. I would like to hear as much as possible from from all different aspects of this before we make a decision.
Actually, he suggested that we have a joint meeting with our board.
Yeah, they invited
Which I
us
thought
to
was
it.
interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What else is on the agenda?
Let's stay for our part.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting, yeah.
I'm with you, like, in terms of, like, I mean, there's no decision being made tonight, right? This is just discussion. Good discussion. I think everyone's getting more educated and getting, like, trying to figure this out. And there's discomfort with the speed, I think. Like, no one likes to make fast decisions. So trying to parse things out and slow it down to where we can, I think is important. But I'd like to, and I didn't get a chance to go on Friday to visit the Neshoba. So, I mean, there's more to learn too, and we had talked about potentially holding it as an opportunity. But I still, I mean, I think regional is the way we will go. I just don't know when. And trying to figure out what's best for Northborough with all the things we're discussing, that's what I'm going to think about as we continue to talk about it, and we need to talk about an entire timeline.
I have a question. What is the role financial planning and appropriations are playing in this?
So financial planning, anything over 25,000 is a capital cost. So if we're looking into new equipment, new infrastructure, standalone, then of course they would be connected with that.
So will they make a recommendation? They will make a recommendation.
If it goes before the capital plan, yep.
Wouldn't it be over 20, it's over $25,000 no matter which direction we go.
Right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
Jason, can I
Yeah,
answer
yeah,
that?
there's currently already items in the capital plan related to the communications upgrades, so we're considering that, and that's been moving through the process with financial planning, so there is an implication for them to discuss it, and then appropriations would discuss the operational budget impacts to this.
Yeah. I mean, we still have to see what these numbers are, right? We still haven't seen them. So that's kind of important too.
And I'd also like to extend an invitation if anybody would like to come to a board meeting. It's an open invitation for town manager, finance director, or the board at any time.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Let us know when that happens.
Thank you.
Leslie.
One thing I wanted to mention too, at our last meeting, Brian, when you were talking about the way your department operates and the dispatchers and so forth, the town of Northborough is very happy with our department and our dispatch department. And so I guess my question too is, why are these other communities choosing to join the REC? Is it because of cost efficiencies, or is it because they're not as happy with the way things are running and they think that by joining a REC, things will improve for their departments? Is it strictly a cost thing?
No, I think it's very multifaceted.
Okay.
So it's technology, it's personnel. So when I mean by personnel, nationwide, there's been a struggle in staffing dispatch centers. Mm-hmm. It's a very hard job. It's a 24-hour job. You're always on. It's a very high-stress job. And so nationwide, we're having a very difficult time with staffing. And so there are several communities who are looking to consolidate to help with the staffing issue. Much of the technology that many towns are working on is end of life, and so looking to replace all of that technology is a financial consideration. There's the radio system, again, adding that to technology. So I think it's a multitude of reasons, and it may be different for one town versus the next.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Not a fair question, sorry.
Is it possible to ask?
I will take questions. Generally speaking, I prefer to follow what the select board put in place with before and after. But seeing this as a dialogue that we're spending a lot of time on, I'll take questions on this or comments.
Susan Sartori, 465 Green Street. This has been a wonderful conversation, and you guys have really done a lot of work very, very quickly. The thing that bothers me, the first thing is the risk factor of counting on the state for grants. The regional school system did that with their busing. They were getting 100% reimbursement. They're probably down to about 30% reimbursement now. And so that always took away from teaching positions each and every year when that burden came. So we don't know that the state will fund you the way that you're funding. Getting your funding now. The second part of this is the human factor, which I haven't heard a lot about. There are a lot of at-risk people at home that really get a lot of support from the private dispatch services. I have had the privilege from serving on financial planning to walk through the dispatch when they are taking calls. There are people that call in on a regular day just to say hello because they don't have anybody else. So before we rush to make a change like this, because it might be the most cost-effective way, we have to look at all of the services we have in this town and find a way to have something for those same people. So that's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, go.
Mike Shaka, 120 Maynard. Thanks for allowing some questions, just because I'm not sure if Brian will be in attendance later at the end. One curiosity I have is, as I've been drinking from the fire hose on this, it seems like the Comeers 25 is a system that the state is really pushing. That's not compatible with the system that you're putting in place. I'm really curious, why did you choose the system that you're speaking of, and why are we choosing that as your recommendation, Mark? Because it seems like the state is offering significant grants as it relates to buying radios using that frequency, and we could have it completely off of our capital expenditures.
So we did evaluate Comeers quite extensively. So Comeers is the statewide radio system, and it operates on an 800 megahertz system, which is different than the UHF. It's a different bandwidth, and it is actually newer technology. The Comeer system, while it is being built out in the state, in this particular region, it's not been built out as robustly as other parts of the state. And so for us to join the Comeer system, we would still have to purchase the equipment and the infrastructure to support that. So what we would do is, right now, purchasing 7 radio sites or radio towers and all of the equipment that goes on that, we would still need to lay out those funds for the 800 megahertz system. But what was even more, I think, influential to that was, in many of the communities that we service, the communities have already put in significant cost in infrastructure for in-building radio coverage. And so the radio systems, no matter which radio system you're on, they have different levels of penetration into a building. And so within a building, you may be able to talk on the radio outside, but when you're inside, it's a dead air. And so the way we counter or resolve that is we put in what's called a BDA. It's a bidirectional amplifier that amplifies the signal within the building. And so the communities that we're currently serving are on UHF now. And when a new building is going through the building process, one of the requirements is that the building installs a BDA, and they're between $50,000 to $100,000. And the cost of installing the BDA are not the town's costs, they're the building's costs. So whoever's building that building has to put in the BDA. If we were to switch to a Comeer system, none of the BDAs that the communities have invested in would work any longer because they're on a different frequency. And so all of those buildings would have to install new BDAs. The new BDAs are not covered through state funding. So it would be upon the business owner to cover that cost. And it was several $1 million of costs that the community would have to cover. And so that was not the only, but it was a very significant factor in us not moving with Comiers. Now, the funding on the 911 side, the 911 funding does not make a differentiation between Comiers or 800 megahertz and UHF. So when we did do our last round of funding, we had to provide the state with our radio plan, and the state had to approve the radio plan in order for us to continue moving forward using state funds. And so the state has authorized us to go move forward with the UHF. They've determined that the system is eligible for reimbursement in its design that we've implemented or that we're proposing. They would have most likely done the same with the 800 megahertz. The issue really was that the community would have had to pay for that conversion from UHF to 800. And it was all three of the communities. So, for instance, I think like Tufts Medical, the Tufts Veterinary School is in Grafton. It's a big, large building. I'm just picking that out of my head. If they have a BDA to allow radio coverage within the building, they would be the ones who would have to purchase the new item. And because those are building requirements, they kind of don't have a choice. They'd be forced to make that investment because we're changing, not they're changing. And so that was a determinant factor in why we went with you.
As far as the grants on the radios that you are going with, similar to Grafton, are you familiar with any deadlines or any triggers that we should be aware of in order for us to be able to take advantage of similar grants for our systems, depending on either direction that we go, whether we stay in-house or...
The 911 development grants are yearly, and the deadline to apply is in April. And
we've passed that.
They make their decisions in July.
Okay.
I will say the last round of development grants, they received a lot of requests, and that's it. They received a lot of requests.
Okay. And then regarding the non-911 call question that came up, could those be routed off-premise? So instead of at the rec center, could that solve our dark station problem by having a remote personnel at each of the stations that's addressing non-911 calls?
Technically and theoretically, yes. However, that would be I think the cost of staffing somebody at
We're going to be stuck with that cost regardless. So I'm trying to solve that problem.
There's a different technology solution that we are looking at for dark stations. So a decision hasn't really, been stamped as approval, but we are looking at technology to help mitigate some of the dark station issues. So the Neshoba Valley Rec Center, they have implemented, or they're testing and piloting technology that puts a kiosk within, say, the police station, like in the front entrance. And so when someone comes in, it's motion activated, and the screen pops up, and then they can communicate with the dispatcher via a webcam. So the dispatcher can see into the facility, see if the person is in distress, and can talk two-way to them. So the dispatcher's at the center at their console, and they have a webcam, and they're able to communicate with the person in the lobby. If it's an emergency, they can immediately dispatch somebody or call the station. And I believe they were even looking at ways on how they could lock the door if needed to make sure the person in the facility was safe. So we are looking at technology similar to that, and actually the state has authorized that technology as reimbursable, so we can go back to the state to cover the costs for that. That's the good idea of putting the dispatcher actually at the station is something I think we'd work with the operations committee, see if that was doable, the finance committee to see how we could fund that, and then the board would have to to approve that.
That's the biggest challenge, and I think people that have these discussions about joining the RECC, one of the biggest concerns that comes up, and Brian and I talked about it, is that dark station, and what do we do about that? And, you know, technology is great and all, but it doesn't replace a person. 2 weeks ago when we were at the library for this meeting, our dispatcher handled a dementia patient who found himself in the lobby of the police station at 7 p.m. She saw him on our surveillance cameras trying to get in our back door, and then he was kind of wandering around, and he was asking for directions to Marlboro. She was having face-to-face conversations with him, and as she was having face-to-face conversations with him, his family called because they were pinging his phone and realized he was safe, and we were able to. She was able to call an officer in off the road, and we watched over him until the family arrived. Those are the things that technology can't replace, and how is that person going to be hitting a button to have a remote person remote in and say, hold on a second, you'll be good. You know, those are the, I think, concerns that, and Brian and I talked about it, that a lot of chiefs have reservations about.
Another question, joining in the future, do you anticipate that there's going to have to be any buy-in for that, or because the costs
Not that
are-
I'm aware of, no.
Okay. And is it, I guess, defensible or illogical to have a buy-in based on the costs that the original members are putting forth? I guess, is there some, is it completely grant? I mean, there's a $12 million or so that's going to be bonded. So of that, I guess, would it be foreseeable that a portion of that would be prorated for a buy-in that we would need to contemplate if we were to kick the can down the road a year?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. And then the 4 FTEs that are being paid for by the state, that's for just a finite period of time.
So I want to clarify, it's not FTEs, those are actual physical positions.
For positions.
Yeah, and so we would staff, obviously,
So-
24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
So 12 or...
So our staffing, currently, I believe we're at 14 dispatchers, 3 supervisors for 24-hour coverage of 4 positions, although in the overnight hours, we most likely won't be staffing all 4 because we'd be able to drop some overnight.
Sure.
As we add new communities and add more call volume, the state will say, okay, now we need 5 positions or 6 positions, but those are actual physical call-taking positions.
So thank you for the clarification, but I guess the core question is that for a finite period of time? Have they said that we'll provide that grant for, like kind of like our SAFER grant, 4 years, and then you're on the hook for it? Or
No.
is it a teaser, or is it something that there's no anticipated end date of that funding?
Of the grant fund, which funding?
The funding for the...
For positions?
For the positions.
They're actually owned by the state. So the call answering equipment that the 911 calls come through is actually owned by the state. So what happens is the state comes and we have a desk, really. They will install the computer for the call answering equipment and the monitors for the call answering equipment, and they maintain it, they support it, they fund it from here to eternity. The other equipment at the desk, the CAD system, the other monitors, and the radio system, those are the responsibility of the RECC. But the 911 call answering is actually a responsibility of the state. And so that's funded 100% by the state from here.
Okay, that's great information. And then the final question that I have is, for the time being, is relative to the 5-year assessment and those funding that I think Mark talked about. I'm always a little skeptical of things like that, just because, okay, it's fantastic when the money's flowing in, right? But what happens at the end of the 5 years? What's the price tag going to be? And, is it going to end up costing us more over 10 years than it would have over 5 years? So I guess it's not really so much of a question as an ask. similar to what I stated in my opening comment, it would be really helpful for us to receive just a breakdown of each of the components, for us to be able to just do a Ben Franklin on all of this, be able to understand what's grant eligible, what timelines we're looking at for grants, what triggers or pitfalls we could run into relative to grants for each of those items, understanding how that math works so that we can compare and contrast. Because personally, I mean, my gut on this tells me that I think that regional dispatch has a lot of positive elements to it. I think that it's something that could be part of a bigger plan that we have if it's done right. But we need to know all of the facts associated with it and how it plays into the bigger picture and all of the equipment requirements. And then I guess the only part, outside of, for you, Mark, would be with regard to your proposal that I read through. Those numbers don't seem to make sense to me when I looked at them. You have a number there, but that pricing proposal, the contingency, it stated that it's 15%, but when I went through and did the math, it doesn't add up to 15%. It's much less than that when I look at the hard costs, unless I'm doing something wrong. In addition, the PM costs seem to be undershot as well. It doesn't have a lot of, unless it's all bucketed into infrastructure, it doesn't have a lot of items under infrastructure, dishes, microwaves, other things. So I'm really concerned that number is not the price tag that we're going to get hit with, and that it's much higher. So I feel like we really need to have a breakdown at a much, much more granular level of each of the pieces and parts so that we can understand what we're getting ourselves into. Also, school communication. It's my understanding that the school communication assets that we need to acquire all can be covered by school safety grants, and I don't see that contemplated anywhere as well. So, I think that this is something that has a lot of moving parts. The select board, the financial planning, and our appropriations committees. I think if we could even get together and have a meeting, and be able to kind of drill into this a little more.
I think a joint meeting, if we're going to explore it, is the next step.
Yeah, I just don't want to see this thing be brought in front of financial planning with a black or white, yes or no. This is what's being proposed, and then we have to dissect it, and it's going to take a lot longer to get it through, or we're going to push through something that's a bad deal. So I think we just need to...
I would get this as similar when it touches multiple committees to White Cliffs, when we brought in multiple committees and everyone was informed, and that's the way we approached it. But any other comments, Mike? I know.
No, that's it. And thank you for the time. I appreciate it. And gentlemen, thank you very much for being here and all the work that you guys are doing. It's great. Thank you.
I'm not going to keep you much longer. I'm Amy Bullard. I'm your communications supervisor at the police department and a resident of town.
Address, please.
42 Birch Hill Road. I just want to say that, or question, I guess, rather, for the board, if we weren't talking about the radio infrastructure upgrade that we need, would we be discussing regional dispatch? Is that something that, do we have an issue with our dispatch center? No. We have a very successful and well-functioning dispatch team. You're talking about the termination of 6 or 7, if you're including me, if you guys decide to go regional. That's not something that should be taken lightly. A lot of the questions you guys have, I've spent the last few weeks working on a packet of information for each of you. I just finished it today, didn't get to your hands in time, but a lot of the questions that you're asking, I have the answers to, at least some of them, not the financial things. I don't claim to know about grants and grant writing and everything. But what I can tell you is that some of the things, respectfully, that he's presented to you are not quite true about the way that the Northborough Dispatch functions. Having 4 chairs in a regional center means 4 chairs answering for all the towns that are part of that member, all the members of that community, right? So Southborough, Westborough, Grafton have 4 dispatchers. We have 1 or 2, depending on the shift that we work. So now you're taking all of those calls for all of those towns and being answered and fielded by those 4. It's not an advantage for our town. It might be an advantage for a major fire incident where the depth of your bench, if you will, matters. But 99.5%
5% of the calls that we handle on an everyday basis are not major fire events. They're police incidences where regional dispatch is not going to be beneficial for the types of call that we feel. So before we get rid of 6 full-time, maybe 7 full-time employees with 42-plus years of experience and dedication to this town specifically, I'd really rethink and ask that you take a step back, look at what you're really talking about. It's not, we need radios, we need to go regional. Those are 2 very separate conversations, as you said before I got here. And the conversation about going regional is something that would take at least a year, if not 2, to really hash out. And to rush into it just because we think there might be some benefit now is just not the right answer for this town. And so that's all I ask, is you take your time to look over what you really are talking about discussing here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question.
Yes.
It's real quick. When you talk about a dark station, is that 24 hours a day or at night?
No, it would be a period of time where if we were to go to a rec center, we would have to figure out how do we not lock the doors. So
Right.
every department that has joined a rec has generally done something a little different, right? Some, like in Franklin, for instance, they have a police officer on the desk all the time. A lot of departments do that. We wouldn't be able to do that without hiring more police officers,
Right.
which we need anyways, but that's a story. We would have to have a police officer, at least during the overnight hours, manning that. Some have civilians manning it during business hours, 9 to 5 type hours, a civilian person. Again, these are still employees that we would have to hire, because of our dispatcher is not there doing that function.
Right. Okay, thank you.
I also have a real quick question, too. Somebody mentioned state oversight, and I know nothing about that. Is that different with a rec versus any state oversight that a local department has? And does that affect our dispatchers in a rec center versus just us?
Not that I'm aware of.
Are they kind of like...
I don't think so.
Okay. So there wouldn't be some additional burden that our department would have to bear if we're part of a rec in terms of state oversight and what we can be told to do or to report on or anything like that?
There's certain things that our dispatchers do. It's in their job description or not in their job description. They just do it. There's about 100 different things that they do that some are state required functions, right? Help me out here, Amy.
Emergency restraining orders or any kind of emergency orders, LTC applications, health
Right.
visit requests.
These are things that, sex offender registry, these are things that our dispatchers just generally do. And again, they're kind of the jack of all trades, even though it's maybe outside their job description. Again, those would be things we would have to think about. How are we going to do it now? If we were to lose 7 people, distributing that amount of work to the people we have left is going to be extremely challenging.
So it could affect workload volume, workload, just the position description and what is expected, what the community expects. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your
Mark.
time tonight.
Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure.
Great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. The comfort
This
dog.
one may be less discussion.
I think so.
All right.
Well, we'll see.
I don't know. That's why I said may. I'm not presumptive.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda, acceptance of a $21,000 Worcester County Comfort Dog Mutual Aid Program grant presented by Police Chief Brian Griffin.
Yeah, thank you.
Discussion and a vote.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It's pretty straightforward. The Worcester County District Attorney Joe Early's office reached out to our community resource dog, Marshall, and his handler, Steve Sullivan, to see if we'd be interested in joining a mutual aid community dog group. It's a very the dog, as you know, is very popular, and as they are in Worcester County, and the DA's office has realized what a great resource it is, and if we can pool them all together for different projects. For instance, they during National Adoption Day at Superior Court in Worcester, the dogs go in. All the dogs from Worcester County will go in and be there for the kids on that celebratory day. Steve Sullivan was asked last week in the tragedy that happened in Wayland at the camp that claimed the life of a young person, was asked to be present at a school in Sudbury, where the boy was from. So he and Marshall went to Sudbury. It's just kind of a natural thing, and when we have a need here in town, we've called Hudson's Community Dog. So it's kind of a dog pack, if you will. So the DA's office applied for a grant through the Department of Justice and received it. It was and basically it was $21,000 for each Worcester County community who were interested in it, and it's a reimbursable grant for things like dog supplies, equipment for the cruiser, training, extra training for the dog, things of that nature. So. Just looking for your blessing that we sign the paperwork to the DA's office for this. Thank you very much for your consideration.
That's great.
Are there any additional obligations?
There's none, and there's no cost or anything with the town here. Nothing.
Okay. I'll jump in for Mike then if we have no further discussion. I move the Select Board vote to accept the $21,000 Worcester County Comfort Dog Mutual Aid Program grant as presented.
Second.
Roll call vote. Leslie?
Yeah, yes.
Jeff?
Woof. Aye.
Aye.
I can't help myself.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks. All right, next up, application for a special one-day license to serve wine and malt beverages at the Rotary Club Annual Applefest Street Fair on Saturday, September 26, 2026, presented by Rushford and Sons Brewhouse, Eric Martin, pursuant to MGL Chapter 138, Section 14, discussion and possible vote. Eric, I apologize for the wait. I think in the future we will move these things up for those that are attending. Please.
Thank you so much, as always, for having me. This is our second year that we will be participating in the Rotary Club Street Fair on Blake Street for Applefest. As Mr. Chair said, Eric Martin, I'm a resident of Northborough. Many years ago, my friends and I started Rushford and Sons Brewhouse. We have two locations, one in Upton, one in Holliston. We're a small nano brewery, and really we're just trying to help out, right? You know, when people know that you have a brewery, the first thing that usually people ask around town is, where can I get your beer? And very often there was a lot of elbowing of, can you please pour at Applefest? So we did it last year. As previously, I called up Chief Griffin. I called up the acting fire chief, right, and just, saying hi, any questions? Really, I just want to call it the one big change from last year. Last year, I set the license from the start time of the fair to the end time of the fair. And I'm a firm believer that this is the time to discuss how all that works. And on game day, it's what the license says is what the license says. So people come up to me at 3 a.m. or 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. and say, oh, can I have a beer? And I go, taps are off. And they're like, oh, it's only 3:01. Yep. And the taps are off. And unfortunately, that led to some Rotarians who've been volunteering the whole day, not being able to get anything. Vendors, when they were breaking down, not being able to get anything. So I just put on a little bit of an extra buffer time to help out with that. Everybody, dealing with everybody was great. As always, I love dealing with Northborough. The Chief Griffin's great. The fire chief's great. Everybody's been great to work with.
So with just so I'm clear, so last year's license was 7 to 3, or not 7 to 3, but
Hope not.
Not 7. Wow. 3 to Yeah.
10 to 3. And then the request for this year is what?
10 to 4.
Okay.
Yeah, just adding an hour.
Understood. Thank you.
And that doesn't, and again, I just want to be very, that's when we can serve until, not where we will serve until. We're trying to get out the door also, right? It's been a long day. We're trying to pack up also. It's just more for the flexibility of, food trucks who've been working, right? Vendors who've been working the whole day. You're just turning people away. And then, also, if some participants come up at 3:05, if you have a line at 3:05, I now just don't have to turn people away. But again, though, if this board says, people know, do. As most of you know me, I'm pretty flexible. I'm just trying to have fun with an adult beverage in a controlled and responsible way.
Appreciate the feedback.
Yeah. Congratulations, first of all, on your business.
Thank
That's
you.
wonderful. And it sounds like you've had an outpouring of support. That was a pun.
I got it.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Exactly.
So bad. Anyway, just to reiterate for the public, you have submitted the required documentation in support of the application, including the site and floor plan for the Applefest Street Fair, certificate of insurance and tips or equivalent alcohol server training notifications, and you've had approval from the police, fire, building, and health departments. So you've satisfied all those requirements. What kind of signage do you put up, and is that area roped off?
It's required to be cordoned off. We're talking last year, the Fire Chief Parenti, who's since retired, requested that it was just, it's like caution tape, it's plastic caution tape, and it's so for Massachusetts, we legally there has to be a physical demarcation.
Yeah.
So the caution, which is right up on there, thank you, Angie. It's caution tape, literally just in case of any sort of emergency, right? It's just very easily breakable, but it's just a visible no alcohol beyond this point, right? So no alcohol beyond this point. Our Rotary Club has a police detail for that event, right? And then, we're very clear about no alcohol beyond this point.
Okay, that's good. Sounds great. Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
And any problems last year? And if you, okay, great.
and we were asking police and fire throughout, and everybody was, and
Please.
I didn't tell you about this one.
they said the guy pouring was very rude.
Last year was the first year that this was proposed and allowed. So we had, first of all, Eric's great to deal with over the phone and in person. Really lays out a great plan. If I have any questions, he's quick to answer it. And I was down at the Street Fest last year and introduced myself. It went very smoothly. I have no concerns. These are, responsible business owners who want to do the right thing and give a person a beer and not 12 beers or anything like that. So I'm very confident this will be a good partnership going forward, and he's just really good to work with. And we had no issues last year.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other discussion from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Select Board vote to approve the application from Rushford and Sons Brewhouse, Eric Martin, for a special one-day license to serve wine and malt beverages at the Rotary Club Annual Applefest Street Fair on Saturday, September 26, 2026, with a rain date of Sunday, September 27, 2026, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 14, subject to all applicable requirements and approvals.
Second.
Roll call vote. Leslie.
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
Julianne.
Aye.
I'm an aye.
Thank you so much.
See you on the
Thank you.
26th.
Yeah.
On the 26th.
Thank you. At 7 a.m., did you say?
Yeah.
I mean,
John will be there at 7.
You can
like, where's everyone?
I'm not allowed to pour until 3, but we can hang out.
Thank you. All right. Next up, acceptance of a $1 million Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs Dam and Seawall Repair or Removal Program grant for Northborough Reservoir dam removal, presented by Public Works Director Scott Charpentier. Discussion and possible vote.
He's here remotely. Nope, there he is.
And this is we discussed this earlier this year.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Scott.
Scott, you're on mute. Oh, you're on mute. Oh, there you go.
Okay, I'm now allowed to speak. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Audio coming through my direction is very faint, so I'll do my best to to listen well. So, as you're aware, Northborough Water Division owns a dam in Shrewsbury and Boylston. We've been working toward removal of that dam for a number of years. It actually started back in 2015 with a feasibility study. We received, $170,000 grant from the state, the same program from EEA in 2021 for design and permitting. We then received an additional supplemental grant for $73,000 from the same state entity to fund an environmental impact report that became required during the design process. There was a permitting change on DEP's side, which costed additional funds. We also received a $25,000 earmark from the state in 2024. Thus far, we've received close to $270,000 in grants, with $56,000 of local match. The project is currently completed design development. We are now going to move into construction document preparation, bid services, and construction oversight. We submitted a grant application to EEA for their maximum award amount of $1 million. That they require a 10% match. We received local funding at town meeting in April for $250,000, which will cover the match and any unforeseen conditions that arise during construction. There are no local requirements beyond the $100,000 match. We do have $250,000 allocated toward it. It is 100% funded and supported by the Water Enterprise Fund with no effects or impacts to the taxes.
Scott, can you hear me okay?
Barely, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure me closer is going to help either. So what is the low end of what Northborough will pay for this project, assuming that it doesn't require the whole $250,000 when you look at grant activity and everything else to date? What is the low end?
The low end would be $100,000. We're required to match a minimum of 10% of the grant amount. So at a minimum, we'll be spending $100,000. Our goal and objective is to spend no more than that. Every dollar we don't spend above $100,000 goes back into the retained earnings in the Water Enterprise Fund.
Thank you. This one's straightforward to me. I think we had talked quite a bit about it in one for town meeting.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, in that case, I move the Select Board vote to accept the $1 million Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs Dam and Seawall Repair or Removal Program Grant for the Northborough Reservoir Dam Removal Project as presented.
Second.
Leslie, second. Roll call vote. Leslie.
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
Julianne.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Scott.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and board members.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, temporary road closure of Blake Street for Rotary Club annual Applefest Street Fair on Saturday, September 26, 2026, presented by the Rotary Club pursuant to MGL Chapter 85, Section 10, discussion and possible vote. Good, please.
Thank you. I've got a couple of folks also remotely who are having a very hard time hearing. Do you mind if I give them a call and place them on speakerphone?
So it isn't just Scott, it's
correct.
We're having an issue with audio.
Yeah.
Patrick, do you know why that is?
They were saying that they could hear Scott very, very well, but they couldn't hear this room.
That's the room and the microphones, it sounds like.
Yeah. Apologies. It's going to take me a second. Okay, so I'm bringing in Pat and Skip Doyle first, and then Leslie Harrison. The three of us are co-presidents of the Rotary Club. High technology here. Skip and Pat, are you there?
Yes,
Okay, great. Let me go ahead and bring Leslie in.
we can't unmute ourselves, so we have to be unmuted by tech.
That's fine. I have you on speakerphone here,
Okay.
so everyone will be able to hear you okay.
Hey there.
Hi, Leslie. I have you on speakerphone in the room. Let me see if I can bring everyone together. Oh,
I'll
Murray.
have to hold my ear up to fight.
Yeah. All right, so I think I have everybody here. Pat, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, and Leslie?
Yep, I just needed to mute. Pat, you guys might want to mute your speaker so you don't get echo. Just want to hear through the phone, not through the screen. But
Okay.
anyway, yep,
I think
good to go. Thank you.
I think we're ready to go. Thank you very much for the indulgence with that. Mitch Cohen, joined by Leslie and Pat, the co-presidents of the Northborough Rotary Club, here to request our annual closure of Blake Street for the Northborough Rotary Street Fair. If it's all right with you, Mr. Chairman, I'd love to tell you a little bit about it and what's new and exciting this year.
That'd be great.
So the street fair, occurs every year in September as part of Applefest weekend, and it's the Blake Street event that a lot of people simply refer to as Applefest, although Applefest is a lot of exciting things. Okay, I think they took care of that. This year, I believe, will be our largest street fair ever. We are booked solid right from Route 20 right down to Pierce Street, all along Blake Street and its parking lot areas and everything else. We definitely have the largest food court ever. You heard a little bit from Eric about Rushford and Sons with the second year there. We're very excited about that. We have perhaps the star of new vendors this year of the food court, Cousins Maine Lobster, which is a big hit everywhere they go. We're very, very excited to have them in their first year in Northborough. We also have Egg Roll Cafe, Nautical Bowls, Northborough's Nutrition Hub, and Ski's Lemonade are all new vendors. We have a number of return vendors, Ashburgers, Swansky's Bake Shop, Willie Mate Lemay, Mike's, Northborough House of Pizza, Rushford and Sons, of course, Palumbo Kettle Corn, Taco Burrow, and Yulman's Ice Cream are all coming back. So we have a very large food court area. We're very, very excited about that. Piggybacking on what you heard from Eric, we'd like to keep the food court area open a little bit longer, subject to the the vendors' willingness to participate. So I think, Eric's request for 4 p.m. for the liquor license is consistent with what we're looking to do with the food court in general. As I think was described in your documents, the entire food court area will be surrounded in the caution tape or something similar to that for the liquor license purpose, but it also helps designate, where the regular vendors are and where the food and drink vendors are. A couple of other things that I'll call out, one of which we're in their third year of trying to reduce trash at the street fair. So we're going to have some student volunteers and volunteers from the Rotary Club helping to deal with recycling and compostable materials, which we've asked the vendors to use as many of as they can. So we'll be dealing with that on site. We're also, with the DPW's cooperation, going to have drinkable water available for free. So we urge people to bring water bottles with them and just fill up, stay hydrated throughout the day, especially if it's a warm day. So we'll have those at a couple of areas, and it should be a lot of fun. We're looking to hopefully have the street closed from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Again, Saturday the 26th of September with a rain date of Sunday the 27th, and 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. for the closure. Most of the vendors would be 10 to 3, and the food and drink vendors would have the option of staying open later than that. Any questions I can answer for you?
Thank you.
Okay. Leslie and Pat and Skip, did I miss anything?
Not that we can see. Great job, and we just wish we could be with you. I think it's been a lot of years since we haven't been there, but we know it's going to be an amazing street fair this year, so we want everybody to come down and have some fun.
Fantastic.
Oh, one thing I wanted to mention.
Yes.
Can you hear me, Mitch?
Yes.
So we're actually in the spirit of the fresh water being, potable water being provided, we are asking vendors not to sell or give away, single-use water bottles. They can sell other drinks, but or give away, but we are actually prohibiting the dissemination of bottled water.
I'll repeat that in case that wasn't audible. In the past, we've had some vendors, out of the goodness of their heart, give away single-use water bottles. We are not allowing those this year as we did last year because we want to eliminate the waste from that. So obviously they can sell beverages of whatever they would like, but to try to limit the amount of plastic that gets built up and thrown out into the garbage and recycling facilities. We're hoping that people will bring their, such as you've got there, Jonathan.
I'm the only select board member doing it. I'm worried about that. Right? So like we've got, when I look at this is a pretty environmentally cautious group, yet only one person filled their water and brought it.
I thought
so it might, I mean, to your point about it might being a hot day, and I'm a little worried about people that would want a water that didn't have the foresight to bring a bottle.
So they'll be able to buy water and buy drinks of alcoholic and certainly non-alcoholic.
More water.
Yeah. But the only thing we are prohibiting vendors from doing, this is not new this year, is giving away single-use water bottles.
Giving away, okay. Sell them, they just can't give them away.
We're asking vendors not to sell water. Either.
Not to sell water,
I'm
too.
hearing something different. I'm hearing you're asking vendors not to sell water on what could be a hot day.
We're asking vendors not to sell water because we will be giving it away for free.
I don't like it.
No, I think you have to have it available to people.
That's a good point.
You said yourself, it's going to be a hot day. We've got 25% of people that I consider environmentally cautious. Only one is a water bottle today.
I will take that back to the board.
Thank you.
It's got to be available.
That's a good point.
This will be the third. Just to throw in, this will be the third year we're doing this, and it's not been an issue in the past.
So this is the third. This is the third year we've had this policy.
It's not a good one.
I'd just market more free water.
Yeah.
That would be.
I'm skeptical of that.
Yeah. And if people really wanted to, Cumbies, CVS was right there. It really hasn't been a problem. We haven't received any complaints from patrons or vendors.
And is it clear? Because one thing, I mean, it sounded like there was some confusion when we were talking that if you were clear that vendors were not going to be allowed to sell water or not, is it clear that vendors have not been able to sell water for the past 3 years? They couldn't sell any water?
Leslie, is that accurate? Leslie's our treasurer and deals with the vendors.
I'm sorry, I have a hard time understanding, Jonathan. Could you repeat that, please?
Sure. The question is this the third year that we have prohibited the sale of water at the street fair?
Yes.
Yes.
So no water.
This is our third greening. Yep, our policies have stayed the same.
This is the third year of greening of the street fair is what we call it.
Where vendors were prohibited from selling water.
Correct.
Yes.
If you would bring it back to the committee, I think that would be good. You know, September can be hot. Yeah.
We're all hoping for a beautiful day.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there are a lot of people that travel with water bottles that will get their water filled, and I think it could serve both purposes.
I hope people who watch this remember to bring their water bottles with them.
It's a public service announcement.
Otherwise, it's very exciting and
Buy
as
lemonade
usual.
and, there are lots of drinks they can buy. Lots of beer.
Yeah, try to keep it to
That
water.
might not be
Sugary drinks and beer.
Yeah, we mix in a water. Yeah.
But no, I just thank you for all the work that you do, and it is one of the best years in town, best days in town, and it's really great to see it continue to grow and flourish, and bringing in new vendors and new ideas. So I think I commend the committee. I mean, just it's great.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much to all of you for all your work. Sounds very exciting. You're going to run out of room there at some point.
I think
That's going to be.
we essentially are
I think
this year.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, as far as trash bins, recycling bins, where are they? Will you have more? Has it worked out what you've done in the past?
Leslie can probably speak better to that. The question was where the trash and recycle bins will be.
So we had 2 stations set up last year, and we're planning for the same this year.
Okay.
We have a big waste tent right next to, so if you know the food court area, we actually have this large tent that's covered where people sit down. So we figured that would be a good place to do it. So there's a big waste tent right there, and then we have another smaller area right at the entrance.
Okay.
So near the puddle, near the close to Main Street. That little part, the first section of parking on the right side, as you're like right along Blake Street, right at the edge of the grass.
Right near the Christmas tree.
Okay. Okay, that sounds great. There shouldn't be anything
We
on the
also-
ground if they're
We also have 2 hand washing stations, which last year we got a lot of commendation from people saying they, after a full day there, it's kind of nice to be able to wash their hands and dry them. Those are set up in the 2 areas as well. And our young people are making this one of their projects. In fact, 2 years ago, they won a Rotary Club award for their work that they did with this recycling and removal of the trash. So, and we've saved ourselves some money as well. So, it's a good program.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I see that. So that's exactly where see the waste and water. You can see by 92.
Yes.
The green areas are water and waste. So things like that. So right on the edge of the food court on the left side, you see that. And then this food court is actually a little bigger. That you see it says extend food court further. We did. So 8280, it goes all the way up to Fatouche. So that whole area, including the orange area sort of to the right where E is, section E. You'll see there's a waste tent right next to the food tent. You see the green box right next to it. It's the second waste tent.
Looks good. Spread out. That looks great. Thank you so much.
And again, we are asking for you to close Blake Street on the 26th with the rain date of the 27th, if you could.
No further discussion?
Nope.
Do you have a motion?
Yes. I move that the Select Board vote to approve the temporary closure of Blake Street from Main Street to Pierce Street for the Rotary Club annual Applefest Street Fair on Saturday, September 26, 2026, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., with a rain date of Sunday, September 27, 2026, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., pursuant to MGL Chapter 85, Section 10.
Second.
Roll call vote. Leslie?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Julianne?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Looking forward to this street fair. Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much.
Next up on the agenda, Annual Financial Summit, selection of dates and time for September 2026. Discussion, we don't need to vote here, we just have to come to a date.
Correct. I don't know why it said vote.
No, it's okay.
Yes. Do you have any, it's usually a date that is not a select board date. Let's see.
Is our next select?
There's a calendar.
When is our next select board date? Because we got Memorial Day coming up.
14th.
Yeah, 9/14, yep.
Okay, it is the 14th. Thank you.
Just a question, having not been part of these before, is this like an all-day thing, or is this like an evening?
It goes from 7 to 8 p.m. No, I'm just kidding. You're like, what?
No, I'm just curious. I don't know. Like, is it?
No, and actually, it's fine that you've never been because it's changing from the format it used to be.
Okay.
It's more, less about presentation and more about the budget and where we sit, what numbers we're looking at, plugging into the budget equation. So we will, Jason and I will work together. It's going to be very, I'd say defined this year.
Yeah.
So, what, 2 hours
In the
maybe?
past, it might have been a little over 2 hours. Last year,
Yes.
we had it at the library, and then each department, maybe 13 departments, still got up, and they kind of give a brief overview. And one of my criticisms is that we didn't really ever have a chance for a conversation or debate or anything. It was, you just got presented to. We also didn't, I don't think we were, one of the things I think we need to do is give some direction. What's the direction for the departments?
That has to be tonight.
Tonight,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, so is it, level service, level funding, level service and level funding? Like, we have to set expectations that we want. I have some views, I'm just showing the board's views about what kind of direction we want to give, and then we got to get on a date and give some guidance on our expectations on how that night should run.
Okay, so it's an evening, couple hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would schedule 3, it'll take less. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I would agree.
Famous last words.
I know,
I know, exactly.
But I would
mean-
agree.
I mean,
I think
Really
it's
good at
safe to
short
say
meetings
3.
here.
Is anyone away in September? Any dates?
Some of it depends. What is everybody else
Well-
thinking?
Throw out some dates and let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's.
Yeah, I'm
better.
kind of-
So look at the calendar. It's
I think midweek, like a Wednesday or a Thursday, I'm thinking, right?
Thursday is substantially better for me.
okay. September.
The 10th?
And I don't
Does that
really,
work
yeah,
for
I
anybody?
don't really see one that doesn't work. Thursdays.
Something great out here.
The 17th is a little iffy for me.
Well, and plus you have a select board meeting on the 14th, so I don't know if you'd want to do 2 in 1 week.
Does the 10th work at all, or as far as Thursdays go?
For
Do
me.
you like Thursdays? Thursdays kind of nice. I agree.
I can do the 10th. I can do the next week. I think we probably want to target no later than the week after, the week of the 7th. So I'd say the 10th. The 10th works for me.
Yep, me too.
Okay, the
Should
3rd
we have a
doesn't.
couple of dates? Because we need appropriations and financial planning there. So should we have a couple of dates?
I would just choose one, because with that many people, it's going to be hard. Somebody's not going to be able to make
Do
it.
we know that there's not a meeting of the financial planning or appropriations on that date?
Nothing's been scheduled yet. There's
On the 10th.
there's a meeting on the 3rd of financial planning,
Okay.
but this previous week.
We will accommodate you.
10th it is.
Thanks, Susan.
Susan, you're the best.
Right?
So would call it 6 or 6:30?
I think it's safer to do 6:30,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
people getting out of work, but,
So we're saying the 10th then, or does that seem good?
I don't hear
yep.
objections,
that sounds good.
which means acceptance.
Awesome. So the meeting will go from 6:30 to 7:15.
Till
All
the
right?
11th.
Just,
And I'll let everybody know, all the financial committees, et cetera.
Okay.
So that gets us to like what we want to do for development goals, and I mean, not what we want to set for guidance and how people should prepare.
So Jason already circulated the capital plan for all of our department heads. We worked with the financial planning committee. As you know, there's a new template this year. Tonight, what I would need from you all is, I'm asking to go in with a 3% level service. Now, that's an up to. That's not necessarily for every department. Some departments have no wiggle room, so if they weren't level service, then they would be cutting personnel. Already last year, a lot of departments cut training in order to get to the percentage, the 2.9%. So there's things that we don't think of, but
Have you, Jason? Do you have what we spend on training year over year? Like, I wonder if we're cutting budgets or cutting spend, because this is one of the observations I've had in terms of our budgets. We're building budgets on budgets, not budgets on actuals. So and I know there's commitments, so I'm not trying to like oversimplify it, but I think there is a real dynamic there that.
So
is
we
part
did
of
do
it.
that. We looked at actuals last year, and a lot of it, him and I just cut. And we came in and we said, okay, this hasn't been spent for da-da-da. This is where we're going to get rid of.
Yeah, so again, for the amount of, just to put in perspective, last year the town overall was a 0.49% increase for the town government. That was $80,000 total. That's the perspective there. But that was the result of cutting the paving out of the budget.
4.9% is 80.
0.49%.
Oh, 0.49.
So that's nothing
So-
for town departments.
So and again, at the last meeting, we presented a budget model, which we talked about with appropriations in early July, or July 15th, at their meeting held then. But a 3% on town departments, the magnitude of that is $500,000. So level funding to 3%, between those two goalposts, that's a $500,000 difference.
Yeah. And when will the Muni report, we'll have that in advance, that has the close of the fiscal year plus the actuals of.
Right, so we're not closed yet, but
Right.
We're working on it.
We'll be closed for the 10th? Like, I'd like that for preparation for the summit.
We could send a report.
Yep.
But it will not be finished. It will not be complete.
Okay.
won't be fully
And
closed.
let me just explain a little bit behind that. As we know, free cash, we need to get that certified by the state. It requires our books being closed for the year. So on June 30th, the year ended, but we're a modified accrual basis, so we have to accrue all the revenue that comes in that was due to us for grants and so forth by the end of that was due to us through June. So it's money that's coming in over the course of the summer, and what that does is that covers deficits that are in grants. So when we closed the year in June, we had somewhere around 20 lines of grants that were in deficit that we were waiting for reimbursement from the state or the federal government. That's coming in over the course of the summer, and we need to receive that money in order to close the books. And
How does that affect the muni expense budget?
it affects the amount of free cash that we'd have.
Yeah, I don't really care about free cash, though. I care about looking at what departments spent
Yeah.
through June of '27.
Yeah, so again, we're also working through closing out all of the expense budgets, finding all of the bills that
There
were
were
unpaid.
encumbrances.
That's more, like, the first part, the revenue free cash, that doesn't, from my perspective, that doesn't impact our ability to get what we spent in the budgets of the town.
It'll be substantially the same.
Okay, so we can get it.
Yeah, but with the caveat that it may change.
I mean, if you feel like it's substantially the same, and my gut says it is, I mean, we can.
Yeah, it'll be substantially the same.
And I think that's valuable information for the board to have, well, in advance to get comfortable what the spends are in the departments going into the financial summit.
Yeah, I agree.
Did you send us copies of that template that you sent out to the department heads?
Yes, everybody got a copy. It was appropriations. Financial planning sent it to.
Are we talking about the capital planning?
Yes, the capital
manual, the manual for the capital budget. So yeah, there's a template that was developed
I can
through
resend
working
it.
with the financial planning committee. That got sent out broadly to everybody, but it was directed to department heads and how they were going to produce their capital budgets.
Right. Well, I don't recall seeing a copy of that template.
It would have been attached to the email that was sent out broadly to everybody.
An email.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I'm happy to forward that to you again, Julie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mentioned this last time around the idea of sort of 3% level service, level funding, and I'll ask it again, like, in terms of asking for a 3%, but as well as asking for level funding to understand what that looks like. Like, I'd really like to understand what it would look like from a level funding perspective, because we have some fairly substantial headwinds here, and I think it forces people to think.
That's what took a lot of the effort last year and a lot of the time is the departments came to explain kind of the difference between what would be level funded versus level services and what.
So is the expectation that they'll do that again?
Well, that's what
That's
we're
what we're
talking
talking
about
about right now. So part of their presentation at the summit
Yeah.
was in order to get here, it was 3% then. This is what needs to be cut. So that was the level funded portion.
Go ahead.
I mean, the way I think about it too, it's like fixed and variable, right? So I like the goalposts that we're talking about, but there's also like 3% on a total budget that includes a lot of variable spend. I think we should give guidance for level funding. So if we know we have contractual increases in people's pay and in like put that through.
That's yeah.
And then, but there should be level funding for non-headcount related.
Right. What we can control and what we can't.
Yeah, so like
Right.
service
Trying to
maintenance
fix,
cost,
yeah.
insurance increases.
Right. To understand that, right, to be able to look at it and say, look, okay, this is the bucket.
Yeah,
This is what we have no control over.
right. Yep.
This is what we do have control
Yep.
over. And then we can focus our efforts on looking at those things that we have control over, because there's nothing we can do about these other
Right.
things.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I think the tone of some of the departments last year was draconian. Like you would have someone come in and someone present and be like, "This means that no kids are allowed in the library." I'm exaggerating, but like it would be like very much as opposed to like saying, "Okay, well, what would you need to do for staying within your variable spend?" Recognizing that we do have some merit increases that are staggered within the year.
And I don't think it's, I don't want them to look at it as draconian. I think we have to look at it like we're trying to avoid it. No, I mean,
yeah.
from their perspective,
Yeah, totally.
they have to kind of get on board and understand that, we're trying to avoid overrides, and we have real things that we're going to have to pay for, and
100%.
it takes a village here to get us where we need to be, not just this year, but next year, the year after that, year after that.
And it's the way most companies are approaching things right now. It's just this environment we're in.
Yeah.
And so most organizations, I think it's just the environment we're in right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Bottom line here, we are trying to avoid an override, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Then I feel like we need to see the bare whatever that's out there in terms of the departments. And I saw your recommendation, and I understand that, but I am dying to see what level funding would look like for the purposes of discussion. And similar to, the schools, they have fixed expenses, things that they cannot really change or control, transportation costs and so forth. Then there's all this other stuff, this
What's
other
left?
bucket of things.
Yep.
What can we do about that?
Yep.
So, yeah, I agree with these comments.
Okay, so outside of personnel, we'll show a level funded 3%, and anything above that would need to get cut, like fixed cost, those will be shown. Is that what you're looking for?
I don't know if I understand it.
And I'm not sure.
So basically, if it was level funded, but a department that has no room to cut, if they had to cut something, you'd want to see what had to be cut, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay.
How bad does that look? And
Yeah.
is that something we can take, that
Yep.
we can handle?
Oh, and to talk about
So
what
they
it means.
did this exercise last year
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
But,
I mean,
yeah.
to John's point, that's just how businesses are doing business right now. Sometimes you have to make those decisions. They're not comfortable, but
Yeah.
you have to evaluate it.
Okay, this is, yep, that's
And then there's no open headcount or headcount ads right now?
no
Open
head
headcount, anything we're recruiting for that's open that we should look at? Or any departments that have additional headcount in their budget for next year?
No, I mean, there's
The
no
directive's
new
been
position.
to add no positions for the.
Yeah, absolutely no new
And are
positions.
there any that are open right now that we're recruiting for?
Yep, principal assessor.
Principal assessor and the assistant assessor.
Oh, yeah,
And which?
our assistant assessor, the
Two-thirds
field
of our
data.
assessing office, yeah.
So we're left with one person right now.
So the assistant,
So the assistant assessor, it's
the
their
data
responsibility to
lister,
go out
yeah.
and do all of the field work, the measurements, they bring all that in, add the data in, and the valuations are made.
I think the other thing, and I shot some emails around, but the other thing I think I want to get smarter on is some of the enterprise funds. So a moment ago, Scott said that, was talking about like this $250,000, $100,000 for what we're going to spend in the investment for the dam. He's like, well, that's not taxpayer money. I'm like, well, it is. We just did enterprise fund. We're charging people for it when it could be covered by taxes. So like how we spend the money and what those retained earnings look like, and how your sewer bill and how your water bill don't go up or they go up by less, is part of our conversation as well. So like I would like to better understand the enterprise funds as well.
Do you want that as an agenda item, or do you want to just meet
I mean, I'm open to
outside, or-
discussion. Like, I just want I want a lot of visibility into like the things that aren't as visible, like the revolving fund for the fire, any enterprise funds we have. And I know the enterprise funds capital equipment goes before financial planning, but I want to get out of the mentality that it's free because it's not taxpayer money, because it is. Because like right now, one of the things that's getting some oxygen is like, should we go and create another enterprise fund for this asphalt? How much asphalt? Like this whole stormwater. And I'm like, well, it's a hidden tax. Like, so like just making the residents pay more money and say,
Well, no, don't say that, because it's almost a hidden tax now because they're just taxed for it, but they don't know what percentage of impervious.
agreed, but like it's $500,000 we're talking about,
right?
And now we're talking about doing a study for $60,000, and then we're talking about administration, and then so all of this is added cost in the hope that commercial takes more than residential on it.
Well, we didn't look that deep into it. I don't know how much the consultant would be. But I understand your point.
Right.
If we're, spending triple
again,
for the
that-
amount.
Or
that's-
some, like, and I know it makes a lot of jobs easier because it's relief, right? Like, these things are helpful.
I don't
for-
think it makes anything easier, but we're just looking for solutions to avoid an override.
Yeah.
That's one of the elements was advocating for the increased funding from the state for the paving, which
Yep.
has led to us creating some capacity last year in terms of like saving some levy capacity that is shown as being used in this budget model for the next year.
Pay as you throw.
So, you know, we increased the bag prices for the pay-as-you-throw bags, which, you know, solid waste is an enterprise fund. It's not an intent to make people pay more. It's just a way of looking at the budget that we're trying to segregate the costs and create a dedicated revenue source that's related to those costs that are already in our budget right now. And so we're continuing to study that, and that's, you know, some of our neighbors have done it, and again, we're just looking for the ways to maneuver through the avoiding an override.
No, I get the motion.
Yeah.
But I also researched, and it doesn't sound like many towns are doing it. Now, maybe my research isn't complete, but a search
I
showed
know,
me.
isn't it Westboro? Who else?
Westboro
And if
and
we're
Grafton have
trying,
done it. I don't know.
we're working with very thin margins here, and I think to John's point, that maybe now isn't the time to spend any money on a study versus just focus on what we can do within the confines of what we have versus allocating more money to go study something that may or may not work. Now just isn't the time, right? It just isn't. At least it doesn't feel that way to me.
I mean, I can be convinced differently if there's a compelling presentation. What I've heard so far, I'm skeptical. But I haven't seen a really convincing presentation that has said, "Hey, this is no brainer because we have this grant, or you get this or that." I don't think any of this falls into those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
Our next idea was a bake sale.
But I do
And I don't bake.
Have a $1,500 brownie.
Yeah.
I do like the idea of some discussion about revolving. You know, having been on this board before for a
Right.
long time, it's something that was not discussed a whole lot, really. And there's always kind of this question mark, like, what is that? What's in there? And what kind of stuff goes in, and how does it come out, and all that kind of stuff.
We have all the information.
I think that would be really good, and I think it's important if we're going to really lay bare what we're doing here in town. We need to show people that we are trying to look at everything. And I really do think, just to reiterate a point, that it would be really interesting to see the departments who really can't afford to cut anything, what it looks like if they had to, like
Oh,
what
yeah,
happens.
they're
I think that's
used to this. Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Necessary.
Yep.
the revolving fund was super interesting, and we didn't spend enough time on it. It came late. And well, by the way, thank you for how early we're doing this. Like, this is
Yes.
like all this stuff
Yes.
is like going in the right direction.
Yes.
But like revolving fund is basically once you hit your department budget, you just give them increase, and everything else goes in this revolving fund if it's a cost that's eligible to do that. And there's revenue associated with it and collections and like how good we want to see what our collection rates are and some of that stuff. So I think there's, to your point, Leslie, I think there's rich information for us to learn.
Yes. Yeah, I think that'd be great as an
I mean,
agenda
just
item.
relative to that, I mean, we have revolving funds. We have somewhere, you know, I think it's in the neighborhood of $2 million that
Yeah.
flow through the revolving funds. The largest by far is the fire revolving fund, which is the ambulance service, you know, and that's about $1.2 million that flows through the ambulance revolving fund. That fund, I think you've seen, we laid that out during the appropriations hearings over the fire budget. That money is pretty much used for, it underwrites their budget, so we transfer it in and it offsets the tax rate. You know, that's the largest transfer that comes into the operating budget. One of our sources, revenue sources, is the transfers. And the largest source within that is the ambulance revolving fund. You know, that's about $400,000 that gets transferred in to underwrite ambulance services that are provided through the general fund. So it's kind of a confusing concept, but the other major expense that's covered through the ambulance revolving fund is the debt service on ambulances. So we're basically paying for a third of an ambulance every year from the ambulance revolving fund because we replace an ambulance every 3 years.
And I believe we have ambulances that come out of our free cash for for our capital plan as well, that it doesn't cover
Fire
the full-
trucks and fire
No
equipment
ambulances,
comes
though?
from. No,
Have
no
funding?
ambulances
Okay.
have been funded from.
Yeah, I
from
stand
FEMA.
corrected.
No, that's okay. But otherwise, the rest of what that fund covers are operating costs and variable costs of the ambulance program. So it's not, it flows in and flows out pretty much at the same rate. So it's not like that $2 million that we have in those revolving funds is going to be a panacea of an answer to how we balance the budgets. So I just want to set the expectations that that's not what I'm happy for us to have the discussion and lay out anything. So I mean, we're as transparent as possible here, but that's not going to. If we're looking for $2 million, it's not going to say, oh, we have $2 million in the revolving
No,
funds.
I mean, that's not the intent. The intent is to to authentically do the work and to be transparent and to dig into, and so I can credibly say, yes, we looked at everything. I mean, so it's none of this is being like, oh, we found this pot of money that was like not, well, that's not, I don't think that's going to happen. But
Elucidate.
Go into it with the assumption
Yeah.
that there is none.
Yeah. So anyways, but yeah, I know the tone may sound different sometimes because of like how, how important this is for everyone, but like I don't think there's any sort of sleight of hand. It's more just understanding
Yes.
and being transparent,
Oh, yeah.
doing our diligence.
Being realistic.
I have a question. Did we agree to not do the stormwater fund now? Because I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I think we talked about.
We talked about having a presentation.
Have a presentation
like
about.
Charpentier.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, can we at least?
I'm still open to get presented to. I just stated my view. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yep,
Yeah.
Because there's more than just money involved here. It's, it's the environment. It's kind of educating people on, putting asphalt in too many places, so.
And then maybe getting like a rainwater bucket gets you credit. So there's some
There you
so
go.
and that's my presentation. I'm not opposed to presentation.
Okay, good.
But I'm also cognizant these aren't like these are just shifting dollars that people are spending.
Yes,
They're not,
yeah.
so
yeah.
Okay. So what's direction for
Operating budgets?
Yeah.
So it will be 3% level funded. They have to show where they're cutting, out of what budget lines.
Yep.
Yep, and that's how we'll roll it out. So some departments will be fine, some will have to show cuts.
What does 3%? I want to make sure we're clear on sort of the direction. What's that mean? 3% level funded? Because that doesn't.
So-
yeah.
No, I think what Steph is saying, we're going to
3%
present
and level
two
funded.
scenarios.
Two
We're going to have a
scenarios.
level funded, and then we're going to have.
Just the comma there.
Similar to what we asked people to do
Last
last
year.
year, but it
It's
will have the
almost
numbers
exactly the
behind
same.
it. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
But we're going to ask for two presentations of budget numbers, one being level funded, one being with level services within 3%.
So
up to
for instance,
3%.
last year, we had the 3%. We ended up cutting it to 2.9% because we
Yeah.
needed to.
So-
So
yeah.
that's what we do.
Yeah.
We make it work. If we need more money, we make it work. For instance, according to the numbers that are rolling in.
Yeah.
So health insurance, we're going to be looking at. January, we'll have our renewal number. State aid, our the schools will come in with their numbers. So then we have a better idea of what we're looking
Totally.
at.
Yeah, so that model we showed, it showed a $2 million, somewhere around $2 million budget gap
Yeah.
or override being needed.
1.87.
With 3% for town departments. $500,000 doesn't get you all the way there if we went with a level funded, so.
Right, we're gonna probably need
Obviously,
a collection of things.
within that, we had modeled a 12% increase for health insurance because of no plan design changes, and we just heard from the consultants that was exactly the
12%,
forecast.
yeah.
So that was a lucky
We
guess
projected good.
on our part, but that's $1 million for that increase in health insurance, so that's why that's such a crucial number to target
Yep.
and look at and try to get plan design changes.
When will we know? I mean, it's early to call 12% for fiscal year 28. When will,
January,
it's
right?
in January, so like
January.
that
That's when we'll
12%,
get our renewal,
That
correct,
12%
yeah.
is like a figure they gave you, but
It's a forecast, yeah.
We'll go and
It's a forecast. It's based on medical trend and the claims that they're seeing go through.
Yeah. We just received our health insurance forecast, and our gross medical loss ratio is still 90%. It went from 89%. It went from 90% to 89%, which
Yeah,
really
so-
doesn't show much change. So they're just going to keep us apprised of where we're looking at in January, and hopefully it will be less than 12% would be amazing. But, and I
But
just,
12% was the forecast with no plan design changes.
Right.
With a status quo design.
Right, we have some levers.
yeah.
Yeah, there's leverage there. Yeah.
Okay. So are you going to provide the departments what they should do for their fixed costs or headcount? And then if they're doing level funding, they'll need to find something to offset whatever that would be? So they can have real numbers to know the magnitude? Because I wasn't sure that, I didn't take that away from last financial summit, where you're like, okay, if your headcount is increasing 3%, well, that means you have to find 3% or some dollar value in your variable spend in your department budget. They're going to have that in their pre-work to be able to see that?
Yes, they're going to show you what was reduced in order to meet that.
In order to
meet that.
And it'll be called out with here's the cost we have to try to
Yep.
offset. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for all your work, Jason.
Oh, thanks.
Amazing.
Well, it's
Step
not me
2,
alone.
it's a lot.
It's not,
It's all you.
We're
It's a
a
lot.
team. But it's a team effort to put this all together, so.
Department heads as well. They work hard,
so-
because we constantly have swinging variables and, yeah.
No, you do a great job of framing it up front to kind of keep this thing alive, because we all know the numbers early, so we know when they start changing, it's not like knowing numbers cold are hard to get your head around, but if you're along the journey, it's a lot easier. I really
Yes,
appreciate
yeah.
it. Any other conversation? We think it sounds like we got our date, we got our
Yeah.
we got our direction,
orders, yep.
and let's we jump into numbers.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
Is there anything you need from us?
No, that's what we needed,
Okay.
so, perfect.
Cool. All right, let's go. We'll move on.
You need a motion.
Do we need
No.
a vote on this?
No, this is just.
This is-
There's no vote required. As
Well,
long
for
as
I move the
Yeah, it says the
budget development
budget
goals.
development goals and guidelines.
Do you need a vote on that, or?
You could if you wanted.
I mean, we
but-
can. I'll take a motion if someone wants
Up
to
to
make a
you.
motion.
I move that the Select Board vote to approve the FY 2028 Budget Development Goals and Guidelines as presented and discussed.
Second.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Oh, thank you. I see where we are now. Roll call vote. Leslie.
Aye.
Jeff.
Aye.
Leanne.
Aye.
I'm an aye. Thank you. And that brings us to economic development, presented by Town Administrator
Yes.
Stephanie Bacon.
And thank you for staying. That was so nice. Okay. Yeah. You heard a lot before this agenda item. We received 15 responses to the business survey so far, with 2/3 coming from businesses that have been in Northborough for more than 10 years. Overall, the feedback is mixed but generally constructive. 8 out of the 15 respondents rated Northborough as a good or excellent place to do business. The biggest challenges identified were high operating costs, finding employees, and attracting customers or improving visibility. The strongest priorities for the town were more community events, supporting existing businesses, marketing and promoting Northborough businesses, and expanding dining and entertainment options. One of the clearest themes is that the businesses are looking for greater visibility and connection with the community, not necessarily just attracting new businesses. If we establish some form of economic development group, respondents most often said its focus should be marketing Northborough and supporting businesses that are already here. There isn't a strong consensus yet on whether that should be a formal committee or a more informal approach, although 11 out of the 15 respondents said they would either participate or might participate. Email newsletters were also overwhelmingly the preferred way for the town to communicate with businesses. This is still a relatively small sample, but I think it gives us some useful early direction onto where the business community would like to see the town focus its efforts. And we have, I can send this to the board, we have an elaborate spreadsheet of all of the questions that were asked people responded, so I will send that. But it was informative, even if it was 15 businesses, it
Is
just,
it still open, the survey?
Angie, is it? Yes.
Should leave it open.
Yeah.
Is it possible to do any kind of, like, so when people talk, for example, people talk about marketing the town or marketing local businesses, I would love to understand what exactly they think that is. Right? Like what
I'm
that,
thinking a good example is Discover Northborough.
Sure.
You know?
And it's and again, in a vacuum, it's a great thing, small audience, right?
Right,
I
but
want
I
to know
think-
what else they think marketing really is.
I would say also businesses working with businesses, that would be a way to promote everybody.
Has any business said they had an uptick in sales?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. The restaurants especially, because people, of course, you see some good-looking food, makes you hungry. And yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, yeah, a woman, oh, I forget what line item it was. I think, oh, God, look at how tiny this is. I'm so blind. But she had some great, I won't call out the business in case she doesn't want me to, but is this it? Okay. Well, okay, just the compound economic conditions of the last 5 years have driven small business owners further into debt. Is this? No, this wasn't it. I'm sorry. Okay, I'll get the information. It's so tiny. I can't believe I even read that. Yeah, I don't think that'd be my prescription.
I think this is good. I think there's two pillars to this, right? One is identifying what we can do better for businesses in the community. The other part is identifying what we can do better to bring new business to the community. I mentioned, or I think we mentioned a couple weeks ago when this came up, talking to people who have either been trying to or attempted to do business. I've started because I know somebody mentioned they wanted specifics. I'm hopeful here in the next week or two that I'll be able to bring more specifics to the table to say these are people who attempted to do something and what their experiences were trying to come into Northborough and do business, and we'll name names and those kinds of things because I think that is critically important, right? I'm all for doing everything we can to make the environment for our existing businesses here in town better, but we need more of it. We need more of it. That's how we'll be ultimately sustainable. And to your point before, we can get to a point where we're doing a better job of mitigating tax implications.
I think we do need specific examples. So
I'm gonna have them.
I'm aligned. And some fall into zoning, and then some fall into Northborough's slow and not responsive.
Yep.
But you got to get specific on that and what that means, and yeah.
That's what I'm collecting.
Yeah. And did the survey get into anything that said what can Northborough do better in terms of like?
There's a whole list.
I'll look at. I looked at it. I'll look at it with fresh eyes and just kind of look at it from the perspective that Jeff kind of laid out.
I think the software we're using, we can plug just one question. That will be easier because there's no way. This is on 11 by 17 and it's tiny.
We didn't ask people if they were willing to let us follow up with them on any of that stuff, did we? I'm sure they would. They would be like. Would they be
of
open?
course.
Okay, just making sure. Some people are sensitive to it, and
no, people. Almost everybody gave their business name.
It was optional to give their business name or contact info.
and they all gave it to you anyway.
That if you did,
Yeah,
Can
excellent.
the select board get like a data dump in Excel?
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm going to do, so it's readable.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
I think the state, there's some new zoning requirements or changes. Does any of that affect businesses and the ease of them coming in, or is there some?
You know what? I didn't
residential?
hear anything zoning restrictive wise,
Okay.
but yeah, that's always an option.
Yeah,
Like mixed use, for instance, is
Yeah.
very big. So you can have your residential, you can have your commercial below.
And to a certain degree, I don't think we want to decouple residential from this, right? Because that's tax revenue.
Yeah.
If we can make it easier for people to come in and build in
Right.
town, there's something there. So I mean, we use the term commercial a lot, and that is important, but I kind of view the ability to develop residential, kind of goes hand in hand. It's all revenue.
Right.
It's all revenue, and that's what's critical at this point.
Yep. I'll get you a
Cool.
clear.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steph.
You're welcome.
Meeting minutes approval. Discussion vote for July 13th, 2026. So has people have a chance to read the meeting minutes? Any feedback?
It's always interesting reading the minutes because it reminds us of things that we still have to follow up on, which I will bring up in next agenda items.
When we get to future agenda items?
Yep,
On the agenda?
on the agenda.
Do I have a motion for meeting minutes, or do I have any comments on meeting minutes?
I move the select board vote to approve the meeting minutes of July 13th, 2026 as presented.
Second.
Roll call vote. Leslie?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Leanne?
Aye.
Reports.
Oh, do you want me to do mine?
Yeah.
Okay, here is
Yeah.
mine.
Trying to-
Okay, I just highlighted some sections. All right, we already talked about that. The town is transitioning all municipal emails to a .gov, so it will be a little shorter, thankfully. So first initial, last name at northboroughma.gov. Current email addresses will remain functional during the transition. Approximately 175 employees will need to log into the new system. Configure the Duo two-factor auth. Oh, God, you love that.
The Duo?
You have to go in twice, and it's just, yeah, we're very careful
There's
here.
no Duo app we can use?
Oh, yeah, we
Yeah.
do. We use the Duo app. What I'm saying is that I'm prompted for it like about 10 times a day.
Yeah, but use
Yeah.
the token or use the app on your iPhone?
I think it's the app.
I
Yeah.
use the token.
I use the token.
It's my little fingerprint done.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Yeah, it's way
That's
easier.
good. That's so much
Yeah, it's
better.
just
an
my
Apple.
fingerprint on my Mac, yeah.
I wonder if I can do that.
Who uses a PC anyway?
I'm going to ask. And then we're actually,
Creatives.
we're advancing our website as well because that needs it.
So that's going to disappear? Is it going to be a new site, or just is it going to be improved, or what?
The website?
Yeah.
It will be improved. It will be user-friendly. It's just very confusing, I think, when you look at where things are placed.
Yeah.
And, yes, so it will be a nice, clean format.
Up a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Steph,
Yeah.
if there's anything I can do to, that's what I do.
Ooh, great.
I'm a marketing person, so anything I can do to help you guys out or contribute or
That's nice, but we only have a few. No,
Quite.
we only have so many options. They're like, do you want this, or this? But
Yeah.
we'll show you the
let
options.
me look at it. Yeah, based
Yeah.
on what it is, where we want things to be.
Yeah.
I can help out a little bit there.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay. Let's see. Northborough Media Connection. Dana said Monty's Restaurant from Discover Northborough received close to 13,400 views, which is good. They're doing their Revolution 250th video series. They're doing the Peasley School Capital Project, a series of videos documenting step by step of.
Excellent.
Yeah, that is
Excellent.
great.
Yes.
We purchased a mobile assisted listening system for annual town meeting, which the seniors had been asking us for, and ADA wise we needed. So we'll be evaluating that. Planning, the Celebri School is expected to file shortly for a site plan review. The applicant proposes to demolish the existing Santander Bank?
Santander.
Santander.
Oh, what's going on over in by that side of town?
Yeah, it's 300 West Main. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so kind of
Yes.
like across where like Cat's Off is. And
Yeah, I think so. That Fox Run something? Is that what that?
Yeah, I think it's called something like that, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's in there. That's that green bank building.
Oh, yes, yep.
knocking it down?
Yeah, they're going to build an 11,000 square foot. It's a variety of like a preschool, a daycare, after school program. So the planning public hearing is September 15th.
One less bank.
Yep, I know.
What are we,
Yes.
what am I going to do?
Effective July 13th, 26, the standard governing variance statewide change from the traditional hardship standard related. So if you went to planning board or zoning and you asked for a variance, it was for specific things and then things weren't allowed. The state's opening it up to many, many things, like related to soil, topography, lot shape, practical difficulty standard. These changes are expected to make both use and dimensional variances easier to obtain, and residential use variances are now permitted statewide regardless of local bylaws. Additionally, both chambers of the state legislature have passed separate bills that would allow duplexes by right in residential zoning districts statewide. The two versions are currently in conference committee. If reconciled and signed by the governor, the legislation could have significant implications for residential zoning in Northborough. Accessory dwelling units are already allowed by right.
This would be a mandate from the state.
Yeah.
Effective when?
July 13th.
Of next year?
No,
This year, right here.
2026.
2026.
Oh, it is a.
Wait,
Yeah.
but isn't it like?
Okay, significant
Already effective?
changes to state zoning law have recently taken effect or are pending with notable implications for Northborough, effective July 13th, 2026. The standard governing variance statewide changed from the traditional hardship standard related to those soil, topography, lot shape, to a practical difficulty standard. So they're allowing things that they just wouldn't allow. And it will be by right. Our local laws, it kind of like the cell phone tower. So, yeah, if you want to hear more about that, I can have Lori Connors keep me posted. And
Is there legislation? Maybe is there a link or something that?
Yep, I can get that. Yep,
That's really interesting.
it was. I know. Let's see. Police Department Officer Hunter Luby recently completed a 10-week accident reconstruction course and has joined the Central Mass Law Enforcement Council's accident reconstruction team. The regional team responds to serious accidents across member communities, and Officer Luby has already assisted other towns. The department noted the value of having a trained reconstruction specialist on staff, given the frequency with which the town utilizes the regional team. Health and Human Services, the Common Mass has announced a ban of kratom effective August 28th, 2026. Kratom is a plant-derived substance sold in some convenience stores, liquor stores, tobacco shops that can produce opioid-like effects. The Health Department is working with the building and police departments to notify known retailers and ensure compliance. Flu clinic dates, one will be at the Senior Center Monday, September 8th. Hosted by Wegmans, and the Town Hall Flu Clinic is Monday, October 13th, 2 to 6 p.m. A drive-through clinic will be planned a Saturday in October. The date will be confirmed soon. They have to coordinate with DPW. The Senior Center's outreach worker, Jocelyn, has announced her retirement. She is amazing. I don't know if any of you know Jocelyn, but she's steadfast. She's been here for years. Everyone loves her. She has so much institutional knowledge, so she is going to be definitely hard to fill. The Senior Center launched the Senior Planet Technology Education Program on August 19th. It's a program developed in partnership with AARP that offers more than 100 courses ranging from one-day sessions to multi-week series covering smartphone and tablet use, scam awareness, AI literacy, privacy, online research, Classes are held in person at the Senior Center with curriculum delivered virtually throughout the Senior Planet platform. So that's fun. The library is also helping with that to collaborate the technology education part. Fran Backstrom, Director of Council on Aging, presented a focus group style discussion at our last department head meeting as part of the development of the Senior Center's next 5-year strategic plan. We discussed the high value placed on outreach services, particularly Jocelyn's work, speaking of, the unmet need for middle housing options for seniors who do not qualify for subsidized housing but can't remain in a large single-family home, the growing importance of technology education, AI, online scams, financial exploitation of older adults, and the desire for the Senior Center building to be available for community use during evening hours to address the town's broader shortage of meeting and program space. The draft strategic plan is expected to be presented to the Select Board in October. Library summer reading concluded with an art show finale and ice cream celebration. It's now entering a little quiet period. Governor Healy recently signed the Freedom to Read Act into law. The legislation provides protections regarding access to library materials and establishes standards relating to challenges to library collections. Staff noted that Northborough has not experienced significant challenges in this area, but welcomed the additional statutory guidance and protection. So that means if a library book was out, they wouldn't, I wouldn't say there would be anything court-derived, but there has been a lot of political issues with libraries and the books that they have.
What they decide to put on the shelves?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Summer, for recreation, summer programming has been highly successful. The full-day summer camp at Lincoln Street concluded last week, I think, and the final summer campus science program is being held this week before school begins. A garden dedication ceremony honoring Michelle Silly, former Community Gardens advocate and former Planning Board and Rec employee, will be held Saturday, September 19th, 2026, 10 a.m. at the Northborough Community Gardens on Valentine Road. All are welcome. Town clerk, approximately 1,800 mail-in ballots have been sent to voters for the upcoming election. State-mandated in-person early voting requires the town clerk's office to be open for 2 Saturdays in November from 9 to 5 p.m. Staff noted legislation is pending at state level that may eliminate the requirement for municipal elections through the federal election early voting requirement would likely remain. And that's about it.
On the carpet, is that the damaged carpet, or is that all carpet in town
That's
hall?
all carpet. Hallelujah. Oh, I didn't read that. Yeah. Because I brought it up last time.
Yeah. Was that in the capital plan?
Yes, it's been in the capital plan for.
It's in the 2012 article.
Yeah.
Is it part of our funds we haven't spent yet that are tagged or
Yes.
something?
Correct.
Yeah.
What's the cost of that?
Was it $110,000?
It was, but he's putting it out to bid. So we should hear in, I'd say, late September, early October. He has to put it out to bid because it's over $30,000.
How much is it? 100?
The last quote was like
It was estimate,
$110,000.
We definitely need it. I was just curious if it could qualify for CPA funds.
But we have it earmarked in a capital. So, I mean, other than that, anything extra, possibly, because it is a historical building. But it's been a sitting capital article for years.
Right. But we could use CPA funds, right?
Yeah, so at the time when that article was passed, that was reappropriated bond proceeds from surplus. There's maybe 12 projects that money was transferred from to fund that original article. Then the other piece of it, there was about $800,000 that was in the form of that, and then another $300,000 or so. I'm speaking off the top of my head. I don't remember the exact numbers, but another $300,000 was CPA funded that was targeted toward the HVAC here in this building.
CPA funded for HVAC?
Yeah.
What year was that?
I think it was 2012.
Did we spend that money?
That money is being spent currently on our HVAC project. going on.
Yeah.
And it's not enough there.
I mean, it hasn't been dispersed, but it's obligated in a contract.
Okay.
Can I ask about the planning report?
Oh, yes, yep, go ahead.
So the changes to the zoning laws and now this bill, I guess that's going to come before the state legislature about allowing duplexes anywhere and everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
How do we know how our representatives are voting on this?
We'll ask them.
Because I don't know if anybody else has concerns about
do.
this. You do? Thank you.
I do.
It seems very open-ended and, yeah.
Can drastically change.
Yeah, I'll
the
find out
dynamics of a
more
town.
about this from
Okay,
Lori.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And our reps, yeah. What they think.
Yeah, the other one that falls into that zoning is the DCAM site, just to make sure we're getting information. Is I know
Yeah.
they have the 3 plans, and and there's potential to get water and sewer tie-in from the state, but to stay close to that one.
Right, and that will ultimately change their plans on their considerations because they can only get so much capacity from.
Without getting the
Right.
tie-in to water and sewer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nothing has changed since we talked. They are looking into options. It's multifamily housing, so they're looking into options because they don't have sewer. And they don't know how many. I think the most was, what did I say, 90?
4 per acre or
Yeah,
something?
4 units per acre, but it was,
The current plan, well, the one that, they had one for 38 units, 19 duplexes.
that was the lesser though, wasn't it?
I thought it was the median. I thought it was in the middle.
Okay. Yeah.
But didn't somebody make a recommendation that what the town needs is,
Select board did. We said,
single-family homes?
the select board recommendation was 20 single-family homes, of which 15% would be affordable.
Uh-huh, so,
And then the land was bought, and now I want to understand this part of it, because this was the watch out. When we sat at select board a year ago, was someone would do this, and then outreach to the state for water and sewer tie-in, because the only way you could do it, if you're going to get that and get off a septic. So just try to understand this part of it.
Yeah.
And does that go before does that go before planning and zoning or ZBA or?
So it's going before planning right now. But remember, their last meeting was an informational meeing, and they had 3 different scenarios of what they were proposing to.
Yeah.
And Lori Connors, our director, met with them. I think it's 5.45 acres.
Sounds right.
Yeah.
4 per acre.
Some questions. Yeah. So I will keep you in the
Is it on
loop.
an upcoming planning board agenda?
Not until they decide to come back, until they've reached a decision, because they're now at that step that they need to provide a scope to the planning board in order to pull a permit.
Do you know the date that was presented to planning board?
Yeah, that
Was it
was,
last meeting?
I don't know. I'll get you all the information tomorrow. Are you all interested? I'll send you all the info. Okay. So that is Lyman Street. DCAM property.
And then just going back to open, unspent, old, approved things that we approved in capital. How do we start to close that out?
Well, if you look to the list that I sent out, there's not a lot of old capital.
Yeah. I don't remember I'm sure it's on there. I don't remember the carpet be on there. I would have preferred to see that go against.
Well, the carpet's just listed as town hall project.
That's right.
It's by far the oldest project,
Yeah.
and I just looked. It was 2012 where that was funded, but closing that out is more complicated because it's bond proceeds. But we're not closing it out because now we're using it to renovate this building. So it's not that money's not able to be closed out.
I'm fully supportive. We need carpet. Like this trying to, that's more just in terms of like visibility and trade-offs when it's real cash, and trying to think of how we can help.
But, see, with capital items, it has to be for something that's alike.
Yeah, if it's bond
Stubbed.
proceeds, it has to be
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But that's one of the merits of funding capital with free cash, is that can close out, and it just goes back to free cash with
Right.
any
And
surplus.
this was part of
from
a
that.
bond we did back in 2012.
It was from bonds that were prior to 2012.
Prior to 2012.
Yeah.
That were on the bond or not on the bond? Like when we did the bond.
No, there were surplus bond proceeds from older projects before 2012.
Okay.
So they were reappropriated in 2012 for this town hall project.
Okay. And,
So, yeah.
and it's encumbered now? Like you can't, with surplus bond, you can't just.
Well, there's work that's being undertaken.
What's that mean?
It's not surplus, so
Yeah.
there's still it's still an ongoing project.
No, he's saying, why do you have to use that money for the town hall project?
I mean, if
Well,
I had my,
that's what it was authorized for. It was authorized.
yeah, like if I had my preference, I'd love to see this go for now we're funding like projects the town needs with CPA money and having some of those conversations, and then returning that money for other stuff for some of the headwinds we
Well,
have.
it's
with
kind of
too
like
many-
6 of one, half dozen of the other, as in, if we have it in this pot for town hall repairs.
Well, I think
what
for me, I
else?
like the pressure of CPA funds to actually have those conversations, because CPA sometimes we make easy decisions with
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I'm right with you, but I just think there's gonna be a lot of CPA asks this year.
It might be.
They typically, I think it's like,
Just
You're saying
to
we
get
can't legally.
that money specifically, it's not surplus, so we can't.
so it
use
used to be
for-
surplus because you didn't utilize it for a certain project that was back in 2012. So then that excess was voted to authorize it for town hall repair use.
Yep. And then we never spent it.
We're still
Right,
sitting-
and that dragged on because.
14 years.
And
Because we're
again,
supposed to move.
we were supposed to move to 4 West Main
Yeah.
Street, correct? Yeah. So, other than that, the free cash articles, I think it explained that the amount was 70,000. We've since heard from the schools and confirmed that some of their projects were closing out. So that's higher than 70,000. That will close back to be part of free cash again.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we took a stab at how much it would cost to renovate this building, the estimate that was done by the architects that did the feasibility study, the town hall feasibility study, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 28 million for this building.
Oh, okay.
For staying in this building.
Yeah.
It was $50 million
Oh,
to build
50
the White
for-
Cliffs.
Yes, that's what it was, yeah.
I won't editorialize that design, but
Yeah.
the design behind the White Cliffs that was $50 million plus $10 million to build a rec center out of the old fire station. So that ship has sailed because the White Cliffs is not going to be available for the town hall anymore. So this building, that estimate was $28 million. So we're working on. We did a $250,000 grant for the insulation and the ceiling.
Right.
There's a much needed.
We have
Knowing from
major
experience
HVAC.
the HVAC problems here
Yep.
that need to be
Which
addressed.
is another
So
grant that he's going for.
yeah, and that's unfolding. So the thing is that from 2012 till now, I think the costs have increased for doing some of these projects.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I say the buck stops here, getting us a new carpet.
I'm in for carpet. I just
I
would
was
prefer
here
to
the
see
first
it.
time around
So-
when we were supposed to get a new carpet.
As long as you frame a square.
So I think the important question is going to be: do we want to do a wholesale, one large renovation
Yeah.
project, or do we want to keep doing it piecemeal here?
Yeah.
That's
You
gonna
mean
be
the carpet?
No,
building.
in terms of the building in general.
I think we're piecemealing it.
Yeah. All right.
Unless someone's got a benefactor coming in. Okay. So that brings us to public comment.
Hang on. reports real quickly?
Oh, sorry, I didn't go around the table. Please,
Okay.
lead us off.
No, it's just quickly. First of
Yeah.
all, thank you for your reports. I really wish everyone could read that.
Well, they
Because
can.
it's so, no, I know.
Oh, okay.
People can access it. I just want everybody to know it's out there. And it's very informative.
Oh,
You tell us a lot of stuff in here, to the point where I really don't need to do
That's why I
reports
just highlight
anymore.
certain things that,
Yeah.
because our meeting would take all night, yes.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. A lot of info in there. And I do want to thank you for the Discover Northborough series. It's nice. I know it's extra time on your part, but I think it's nice to see those.
Yeah, it's great. And I ask the questions too when I'm there, you know, what they're missing. I now ask about the Economic Development Committee, if they want it informal, how do they want it? So I haven't been everywhere, but I have.
They're very good.
Feedback.
Very nice stuff. And also, I did finally go through for West Main. And I want to thank Scott Charpentier and Sean Thompson
Yes.
for taking me through there. It's quite an experience, actually. Kind of creepy, actually. I felt it to be creepy. There's a lot of weird stuff in there still hanging out.
Yeah.
And but it's good to see kind of the structure of it, how the windows look from the inside versus the number of floors that's perceived from the outside, right? That whole situation. But it was good to see that, and also see the outside of it and a lot of the things that are deteriorating outside too.
Yep.
Not in great shape.
Yep, it needs a lot of love.
So that's it. That ends my report.
Real quick, I was represented the board in the town yesterday at the Eagle Scout pinning ceremony, which was really, really cool. So I was not a scout, so I have no idea how these things work, but I found it really interesting, and I just wanted to make sure to congratulate Gilbert Prepetit and Ian Summers. I keep calling him Gilbert. If you're a hockey person, as Mike knows, it takes everything I can do to not call him Moo Moo. But more specifically, I just want to point out the things that they did in town to get those. Gilbert did a ton of work around the Northborough trails, putting up new signs, repainting signs, making those nicer. And Ian helped rebuild sort of the fire pit area over at St. Rose's Church. So I thought those were really, really nice projects and nice to see in town. So I just wanted to thank them and congratulate them both.
No report.
No report.
Hi.
Public comment.
Susan Sartori, 465 Green Street. Your point about the CPA funds, it's the way I'd like to see us starting to be creative and working collaboratively with them. I'd really like it if maybe you'd consider inviting them to the summit. They have a lot of cash that they can spend, and they have to spend in certain categories in the town. And we could start coordinating better with them and how we do it, because we're going to have a lot less free cash. As I just said to Scott, it's kind of like the new free cash in town.
And I find them to be a really great partner if you communicate early, and that's where and they do a lot of good stuff. And that's what I'm using this $100,000 example of the rug, but like these are the things I think we need to do.
Yeah, they're wonderful people. John has been fabulous. He was with it from the beginning.
Yeah.
If we sit down, we talk with him, and he understands what we're looking at and what our needs are, he'll work with his people, and hopefully we can come to some better solutions for the town where we're really getting the projects done that we need to, and they're happy to fund them. So I hope you would invite them to the summit. And I didn't hear you mention the schools. Are you inviting the schools to the summit?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
Oh, of course.
All right. But let's get that CPC group there. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
By the way, where do we want to have the summit?
I was thinking library or somewhere different.
What are the
Oh, we did the senior center.
Let's do senior center.
Do you want to do that?
Works for me.
Okay, I'll ask Carol if it's open.
Maybe we get like a one-day beer license.
Yeah.
Come up.
All the people that were here.
Starts at 7, yes.
Let's have it at 4 West Main.
Right.
That wouldn't be a productive conversation.
It might be.
What?
Let's check with Dana too about streaming it there.
Okay,
Yeah.
yep, okay.
Cookies.
Oh, true, yeah.
Yes.
That has to be streamed. That's right, too.
Cookie? Oh, yes.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Future agenda items.
So,
Joanne.
in the minutes, we had asked about getting follow-up on that pole on Church Street that frequently enough comes down from car accidents, and Josh, I think, was going to look into that.
Okay.
So can we get follow-up on that? And can we get follow-up on where MWRA stands with the Aqueduct Trail?
Okay.
I think. And there's one more question. So there's still money available for downtown revitalization in the ARPA funds?
So there's 22,000. I know you said it was 43, but it's not. It's like down to 22,000. Did we ever get the?
Yeah, so the rules with ARPA, they came out in April. The U.S. Treasury came out in April with a revised set of frequently asked questions or guidance on reappropriating money from projects, and you can apply it to a new project provided you had obligated that project and had a contract by 12/31/24. So 24, yeah. So again, I'm being kind of sarcastic by saying it that way, but you could apply it to a different project, provided that you had already conceived of that and been under contract to do the project by December 2024. So there's not a lot left that's still unexpended within the grant. So the final vote that the select board took to allocate money was to allocate money toward the culvert lining project, and that was I think it ended up being $11,000 at the time. But the vote that was taken was that any unused funds could be applied to that project, and that exceeded the amount. So we knew that we had already been under obligation for those funds. So I think that any unused funds could be applied to that, and we will, not lose any capacity as a result of things not going forward.
So basically, there's no money left.
Okay.
Because it's going to the culvert.
Yeah, but we're not paying it back to the federal
Long story
government.
short.
All right.
There's no money
takeaway.
left on the table. We utilized all of it. We didn't
Yes, because
procedurally lose any money.
There was like
Right,
22,
and we're not
putting it
we're
into
not going to
the
be required to pay any back to the federal government.
Good.
Yeah,
Perfect.
which is
Thank
great.
you.
So, tax classification. Next select board meeting, and we're kind of
Yep.
we don't have an assessor, but we can have that conversation without an assessor.
Yeah, we absolutely can, and we may have an assessor.
By that date.
We may, yes.
That's it. That seems like the right time, right? Would you agree?
Yes.
Mid-September to make sure we're in front of
Absolutely,
it,
so we're
and
not
not just doing
rushed.
the November sort of. We're not in front of it.
Yep, absolutely.
If it's their first day, that's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe get someone
Welcome.
with a background that's done it.
Right.
That had that as a future agenda item. Any future agenda items?
Oh.
My mind.
I can think of.
The only thing I'm thinking about, the things that are going to regret we don't put on it, because someone said, well, you should have put on earlier. So like tax classification comes to mind. So I'm thinking of the milestones in November.
Discuss planning for the November state election. We were talking about how we're going to make sure the traffic is fine, whether or not we, have overflow parking area, safe routes to school grant.
Yes.
That's October. I got to check on that. Yep. December, select an alternative voting location and notify the state. If we're doing that, that's when it would have to be.
Do we need any discussion on the $500,000 Lake Street, Pier Street grant? Lake Street.
No,
No,
it's,
right?
it's already spoken
and
for.
it's no additional money.
Nope.
It covers everything. Northborough doesn't have to pay a dime for anything above that.
Right,
You
that
want
was
the
the,
Pierce and the Blake Street?
Yeah.
The survey topic?
Well, yeah, I think it caused a little bit of confusion. I got some text messages, and I mean, my perspective was like, okay, this ship is kind of sailed. We made that decision, and it's no more incremental dollars to Northborough.
Right. So for instance, yeah, there's no more new design money being used because the construction wouldn't be able to get done with no funding.
Right.
Okay, so that's, okay, nothing out of pocket for Northborough then?
No.
Because I've seen some comments and gotten some comments.
Me too.
People are concerned, like, why are we spending more money on this kind of stuff?
No, I think it's because they're starting to see the construction, so that money has already been spoken for.
Can we get rid of that sign with the money too?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
We can
Rid of which?
The non-working
The Lions Club.
Club sign.
Yeah.
The awkward thing is like we don't know we're doing that area yet. We're going to do this in
right.
So, but that's good to hear. It's consistent with what I thought, that there's no additional money or obligation on Northborough. It's all covered in the grant.
Yep.
So, but that survey is from the state, right? It's not from us.
Sounds like a consultant put it together.
Survey from?
Was it DOT survey?
I thought it was DOT.
He said Mass DOT.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
So, why is it now after?
I actually don't even know what survey you're talking about.
Something came out from Lori in an email, Lori Connors.
It's a survey about Blake Street and Pierce Street, and there's questions like, how often do you walk there? Do you,
Oh, I don't know. Maybe
You feel
it
safe
was
walking there.
for another grant that was available, or no?
No, I mean, look, I have it here.
Doesn't it seem like it should have been done?
I don't know if it's procedurally, like, it was Mrs.
Yeah, I saw it too. I don't know what it's.
And then I researched, does what we answer matter? And then what I got was, it doesn't. But like, again, this is laziness. I don't know if it's true.
I don't know, I wasted my time.
Oh, so did it go out to all residents or something?
Yeah, it went out.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
It was on Facebook and.
Is that where I got
okay.
it?
Yeah, some of the questions were
Share
kind
your
of
input on street. The town of Northborough is preparing to implement pedestrian improvements along Blake Street and Pierce Street between Blake and blah, 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 with grant funding from the Massachusetts Department of Transportation. Complete the streets funding program. Project will construct, so we want to hear from you. Mass DOT is gathering information on pre and post-construction conditions.
Okay. So yeah, that's already part of the ongoing grant. Yep.
All part of the same thing.
Yep.
Well, whoever does that, it seems like that should have been done years before they gave us the money.
Right.
I just don't
want to make sure they're doing the right thing. I know, the timing is odd on that.
The amount of time we spend talking about Blake Street, my God, on so many fronts.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have a motion to adjourn open session? We have executive session coming up.
Yes.
I'm going to propose a bio break between.
Yeah.
If we're open to it.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm open to it.
Please. I don't
So
have to-
moved.
Yeah.
Do that?
Yes.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second, yeah.
Leslie?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Julianne?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.